the Royal Navy, and women, of course, they sign up to defend our borders. That's literally what they sign up for. And guess what we're asking them to do? Defend our borders.
Yeah, so in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, is Burnham's honeymoon over? The poll is now live. Head to gbnews.com, cast your vote. Labour's early release scheme seems to be his first big test as Prime Minister, but will he be too busy eating pork scratchings?
You last buy a pack of pork scratchings in a pub?
2 weeks ago.
Well, yeah.
Free speech fears grow as a new elite police unit refers more than 100 social media posts to local forces. Is it time they stop policing our tweets and start policing our streets? And in another Great British Debate, I'm asking, would David Lammy make a better mayor than Sir Sadiq Khan? The former Deputy Prime Minister is reportedly plotting a bid to become Mayor of London. Well, I know one man that would be gutted to see Sir Sadiq go.
He's a terrible mayor. And look at the crime you have in London.
And in the interview, I'll be speaking to journalist Janet Murray. Her exclusive today that an NHS trust has told trans staff that they can use women's toilets has caused uproar from across the political spectrum. Surging. Breaking news, small boat crossings are surging again. As conditions improve in the Channel, GB News can reveal over 500 migrants have arrived in Dover this weekend. It comes as hundreds protested in Bicester against plans for a new asylum centre near Piddington. Well, I'm now joined by the senior fellow for the national security at the Coalition for Global Prosperity, Elliot Wilson. But before we go to Elliot, I'm going to quickly get the thoughts of my panel, Claire Pearsall and Nigel Nelson. Nigel, I've got to start with you. Burnham bounced. Some people think that he's bounced right back where he began. In fact, maybe even further back, because he's not really dealing with the issues. And now we've got a mass migration problem again on the Channel.
Well, he's only been PM now 3 weeks, and so we'll have to give him time to come up with something. Other parties are coming up with completely unrealistic proposals.
Like what? What's unrealistic?
I mean, the reforms this week, or last week rather, the idea of sending Royal Marines onto French beaches without French permission is just silly. I mean, it just cannot possibly work. Breach of French sovereignty. What would happen if gendarmes then turned up and arrested our soldiers because they were because of illegal entry?
No, that wouldn't happen, Nigel. You know that.
Why would it happen?
Because
this is what reforms say. Oh no, the French won't do anything. The idea of sending the military to their country without their permission. Think about the whole thing in reverse.
Well, not really. I think you're returning people who listen. They managed to do it in the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. Claire Pearsall.
Well, so we've had the Prime Minister for 3 weeks, one of which he's been on holiday. He decided just to leave the country when everything is going wrong. He's got no plans to actually tackle it. So we've not seen very much from him. We've seen 6 a.m. press releases, and then he goes silent for the rest of the day, leaving his ministers to do the hard work, and it all falls apart by tea time. So I think that the bounce was only because he was replacing Keir Starmer, and there weren't that many people that were sad to see him go. And I think that when he comes back, he's going to find that it's incredibly difficult doing this job. He isn't going to be popular, and you can't just plonk number 10 in the north and say, job done, I'm here for everyone.
Yeah, I know you object to number 10 north. Well,
yeah, I do.
We don't know how number 10 north will end up working. I do think that in principle that people should live in the areas where they're making policy for. So that's the idea of number 10 north, rather than do everything from London and impose it on other parts of the country.
Well, that's why you have MPs who live in the constituencies that they represent.
They're not necessarily government.
Yes, but
we're talking
all
about government decisions.
Yeah, but MPs are part of government. So what are you saying? MPs aren't in government? Of course they are.
Not all MPs are in government.
But they are part of the government. And, and the strategy that
only 80 MPs are part of the government.
Yeah, but the strategy you've just described is exactly the strategy. There are MPs which represent their constituencies across the country. Policy decisions are made by an overall selection of MPs who represent those constituencies. Why does Andy Burnham need to do number 10 North? He's been planning it since May, anyway. All right, well, let's go to a senior fellow for the national security at the Coalition for Global Prosperity, Elliot Wilson. So, Elliot, it seems that we have a sort of slow flotilla of boats coming again to the UK simply because, well, the weather's great. People tried to say that the reason why things have stopped was because some of the policies are working. No, I believe it was totally the weather, and that's it, really. They're coming in their droves.
Well, overall,
The numbers have come down slightly since about 2 years ago. Agreed, there are still far too many coming. There's bound to be a surge during the summer because obviously it's a more safe and easy time to travel. But overall, the numbers do seem to have come down somewhat since about 2 years ago. But there is still clearly an issue here. It's just I don't think that using the Royal Navy to intercept them is really the right idea, particularly at a time when the Royal Navy, frankly, has an awful lot to do and not enough ships to do it with.
What have they got to do? Sorry, I'm a little bit confused as to what jobs they are doing, because as far as I know, a lot of their ships are, well, they're not moving, are they? And their job is to protect this nation from invasion. And a lot of people would say that even though it's a slower invasion, it's still an invasion.
Whether or not it's an invasion, you don't necessarily need a frigate or a destroyer to intercept a small boat with people on it. It's not the best way of doing it.
Well, you could use something tantamount to ferries or whatever.
We currently have far too few ships, and we've got. But the Royal Navy doesn't have any. So, I mean, we're talking a very, very stretched Royal Navy, meant to perform. And what would happen is the Royal Navy would be tasked to do this, would probably do it reasonably well, because that's what always happens. The military is asked to do things they're not designed to do by government. They do it okay, and then we think that's the solution. I think. The other problem, of course, is where you put these people once the Royal Navy supposedly collected them, because France and Belgium won't take them back. And we can't just unilaterally dump them on France, because we do actually need a reasonably good relationship with our cross-channel neighbours for various things. I mean, we can't go around sort of tearing up agreements and ruining relationships forever. We would clearly be in the wrong in that case.
Well, we don't have a good relationship with France. We don't have a good relationship.
We have a better relationship.
We've paid them, what is it, over $1 billion or whatever to stop the boats, and they are waving them across.
But the problem is that we have legal obligations, as do they. And if we set about sort of completely trashing it, and what I find alarming is the way that Reform has said, oh, well, it'll be a short diplomatic row and then it'll all be okay. Well, it won't be okay. And if we're going to solve this problem, we're going to need the cooperation of France at some point. If you're taking ships from the middle of the Channel and turning them back to the continent, you're going to need a workable relationship with the people on the other side. If we do this once and set a sort of bomb among the diplomatic relations with France, it's not going to work. It's not a workable plan. It sounds like a plan which is designed to catch headlines but isn't implemented. But that's one of the problems that parties like Reform have, that they can afford to say
that's
they're going to do that.
You saying it. That's you saying it's a not workable plan because we've got treaties we must honour and da-da-da-da. Loads of the other nations ignore some of the treaties that they are signed to, especially in regard to illegal migrants. Greece, for example, if you land on one of the Greek isles, you're not allowed to roam freely. A lot of those migrants are locked up until they are sure as to what to do with them. So loads of other countries ignore parts of the ECHR. Somehow we've interpreted it in a very generous way. I'm afraid I'm not buying that the French will suddenly mount some sort of war on us for returning people who've come from their shores. I suspect France will go, ooh, what are we going to do? And I suspect if they then cooperate, they might find that people stop coming to France to try and get to the UK. And it'll probably be doing them a favour.
But from France's point of view, this isn't a problem for them because the migrants are going through France and coming onto us. So they would have very little to gain from that. I mean, yes, a lot of countries do take a very much more relaxed view of the ECHR than we do. And I think that's something that we need to look at, why our judges have taken such an activist part in implementing it in such a harsh way, in such an exacting way. And I think, if we do pull out the ECHR, which is possible, then that will obviously not be a problem. If we stay in, then I think we still need to look at ways of mitigating some of the more ridiculous applications of it. But the fact that other people break international agreements doesn't necessarily mean always that we should.
Well, why not?
It's not always common knowledge.
No. Why not? If somebody is punching you with both hands and you tie your own ones behind your back because you don't want to break the rules, they're breaking the rules. In fact, France have been paid quite a hefty amount of money to make sure that they don't allow these people to come across. And as we know, by their own admission, they are simply waving them across and have been told to let them go through. So I'm afraid, no. I say, yeah, turn the boats back. See what happens. If France then decide to get annoyed, well, then France can get annoyed. But I don't see why the British people have to tolerate this and be the good guys all the time. Turn the boats around or put them on your boat and send these people back to France, where they've come from.
And if France refuses them, what happens?
Well, how will France refuse? The boats are there, the people are on the boats, then what happens?
I'm not quite sure about what we're doing now, because we're taking people off boats onto our ships. We're taking them back to France. How do we get them into France without France's cooperation?
Whichever way. Or we stop them from getting past the halfway line. Yeah, we do not allow them to come across the halfway line. Why not?
You've got to return them to somewhere, presumably.
No, just stop. They're in their boats. You're in your boats. You've got a halfway line. Nobody goes past. They're still in France.
How do you stop them getting past the halfway line without any...
Maybe some sort of mesh like they did in Spain from 32. I don't know. Your line of ships stopping them. Whatever. But don't allow them to get into British waters. That's it.
Right. That's not going to be foolproof. Some of them are going to get into British water.
Well, some of them might, but it might put a lot of them off. Listen, everything I suggest is perfectly reasonable. So you're there, you don't allow them, and you're saying, well, some of them might get through. Well, some of them might get through, in which case you can turn those ones back.
Right,
turn them back,
but where are they going to go?
Push them back into French waters.
Right. And then if they come back into British waters, what happens?
Well, then push them back into French waters. Put them back into French waters.
But if we're going to try to return them in a sustainable way, we need to get them to the continent so they're no longer in the channel, which is presumably what the ideal would be.
No, you need to deter them from even bothering to think that this country, that they can get it through. I think we are looking at this differently. I'm looking at it as in, don't even let them get to the point where you need to have to return them. You're thinking of them as, well, what would you do when you've got them there? No, I'm saying I'm not letting them get into UK waters. And for the few that do, the very few, I'd turn the boats back. But I suspect having a presence in the channel might be enough to deter. And I'm acting as a deterrent to stop others from doing it, yes?
It might do, yes, and would it we had the capacity to have a presence in the channel. But the ideal, presumably, would be to take any of those who are on the channel, put them back on the continent, and that would be a deterrent in the long run. But there are some steps before that of actually getting those which are currently coming and getting them back to the continent. And just suggesting that if we completely trash our relationship with France, France is not going to be willing to say, "Oh, come on, you know, we'll cooperate and everything else," despite the fact that you're trying to dump the migrant back on us, which they don't want to.
Well, I wouldn't worry about that because they're waving the migrants through, having been paid over $1 billion to try and prevent it. So I wouldn't really worry about that. I think they've trashed their relationship with us, and I don't think they give two hoots about that. So, frankly, I wouldn't give a stuff. I'd just get on with it and say, look, you're not doing anything to try and stop this. We need to stop this. If you don't want to cooperate, then this is how we're going to do it. And if you don't like it, then do what you think, but we're not allowing them to enter British waters. That's what I would do, Elliot, anyway, and I would be quite robust with it. You know, that's what I think. Elliot, I've got to go. I could talk to you for a long time. Elliot Wilson, thank you very much. He's from the National Security. He's a senior fellow for the Coalition for Global Prosperity. Right, well, Andy Burnham is reportedly examining whether to block the release of all prisoners responsible for the deaths of emergency service workers to ensure that PC Andrew Harper's killers remain behind bars. The Prime Minister has also been presented with an alternative plan to block the release of all prisoners guilty of manslaughter. But there are concerns. It could put further pressure on an already overcrowded prison system. Well, I'm joined now by the director of Ascolane Partners, Robert Courts. Robert, so what are the problems that might occur, the sort of unintended consequences if, say Andy Burnham does go ahead and block this? So what are the two options he's got? Because one is blocking people who kill the emergency service workers, and one is blocking all of the people on the same level. I just want it to be clear to our audience and what things could happen as a result.
So, firstly, it's just to be welcomed that Andy Burnham is looking at a way of making sure that PC Harper's killers remain where they belong, which is behind bars. This is something that the vast majority of the British public would 100% agree with, and it's something the Conservatives under Kemi Badenoch have campaigned for. So that's to be welcomed. The problem that he's having, just to come to your question, is that if he is seen to treat one set of people different from others in the same category, then he's likely to be legally challenged, judicially reviewed by all the other people who would otherwise be affected. So he's seeking to ensure that the policy, that PC Harper's killers don't say, look, you've let out everyone else convicted of the same crime, but required us to remain behind bars. That's the issue that he's dealing with. And the concern is that if he exempts the entire category of offenders, that it will mean that so many people stay behind bars, quite right too, we may all think, that the core he's trying to address, which is lack of prison space, and that's the thing that we've got to remember it's all about, wouldn't be addressed. So that's what he's trying to do, and that's what he's wrestling with at the moment.
So just say he says, OK, anybody who's killed an emergency service worker, which is police, fire, etc., those people, you are now exempt from early release. Can he do that?
So if he does it simply by making such a rule, then he will be judicially reviewed, and almost certainly that policy would be overturned, because he would be treating emergency service worker killers different from other people who've killed other people but been convicted of the same offence.
But aren't emergency service workers, I'm not saying that they're higher up in the pecking order or more worthy of, but I'm sure in America they have something that if you kill an emergency service worker, then I think it's immediate life or whatever it is, whereas other types of murder may be considered differently, but this one is very specific and clear-cut.
Yes, so you put your finger on a really good point there, actually. The Americans have a different system. They have different categories of murder and manslaughter. They have first degree and second degree, for example, depending upon the circumstances. We don't have that, but we do have a system of aggravating features which are taken into account in sentencing. Now, you'll remember that Harper's Law, in fact, was something that after this particular incident was taken forward, so that those who kill emergency workers are given life sentences. So there are steps that the Prime Minister can take. The key point is this: he has to pass legislation. That's fundamentally what I suspect the government is doing right now, is considering which categories of people they want to apply this to, drafting it properly, and then I would expect to see some emergency legislation go through the House of Commons to enact that rule. So if he simply does it, if he simply makes that order, it'll be appealed, but it'll be challenged in front of the courts, but Parliament is sovereign, subject to challenging under the ECHR, which you've just been talking about on your last segment, and of course is one of the big issues we face. So provided they think about it properly, provided they come up with a law that functions properly as a piece of law and pass it through Parliament, there are steps he can take and should take.
And applying it retrospectively won't be a problem, will it? Because obviously they have already qualified for the early release, as it were, but now you're going backwards.
The retrospective effect is very difficult under English law. It rarely applies. It is often challenged, but it does happen under some circumstances. Again, it simply goes down to the drafting and making sure that is done properly.
OK. And I want to ask you, seeing as you mentioned the ECHR, and you will probably... what do you think of with the small boats, if you did return them or did not allow them to enter British waters? Is that an acceptable way? So if you do that, they have not entered your waters and therefore they can't claim asylum.
So I think your questioning of your last guest was exactly on point, because the key on this issue is that we have to stop people coming here in the first place. And that means there has to be a deterrent. People need to understand that if they come to this country illegally, they will not be allowed to stay. And that was what the last government, when I was Solicitor General, was wrestling with. It was what is called the Rwanda Plan. Now, this government has abandoned that, meaning it has absolutely no deterrent. So once you have people on the way, it becomes very difficult because you are stopping them at sea. That, of course, has all sorts of ramifications of safety of life at sea. And yes, there's clearly a legal issue there, but quite frankly, none of us want to be responsible for people drowning at sea. There's then the suggestion that Reform have used of using the Navy. Well, that's very difficult given how hard-pressed the Navy is, and their primary duty is to protect our sea lanes, our trade, which is what our prosperity, our way of life depends upon. So there absolutely is a solution, but it is making sure that there is a bulletproof deterrent policy, which the last government was very close to enacting, and this government has dispensed with.
OK, Robert Courts, thank you. Really good to talk to you. He's the director at Ascolane Partners. Thank you. All right, 20 minutes after 3 o'clock and time for the Great British Giveaway. You've got 2 weeks left. You could grab your chance to win £60,000 of tax-free cash and a gold bar. It could be a golden summer celebration for you. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
Welcome to Orlis Santi by Domes Resorts. I'm in one of their beautiful sea view rooms. Luxurious, right? And there's just 2 weeks left to see how you too could be enjoying the 5-star lifestyle. There's over £65,000 in cash and gold to be won. First, you can bank an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. That's cash you could save, spend the rest of the year spending, or just relax somewhere like here. the award-winning Soma Spa. We'll also give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000. Just make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 21st of August.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. 21 minutes after 3 o'clock, you're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Still to come in my niggle. Andy's armada continues as small boats cross the channel. We've got a new Prime Minister, but will the same old problems sink Labour on the beaches of Dover? But next, in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, is the Burnham honeymoon over? This is GB News.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News. Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Good afternoon, 25 minutes after 3 o'clock. If you just tuned in, welcome. It's okay, you only missed 25 minutes, but we have got, do not go anywhere because we've got a big show and we always start at 3, just to let you know. I'm Nana Akua and it's time now for the Great British Debate. I'm asking, is the Burnham honeymoon over? Andy Burnham's arrival in number 10 has seen a small bounce for Labour's poll ratings, and number 10 North But with the Prime Minister having to defend his position on early release and tough spending decisions coming down the track, the honeymoon may be coming to an end. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is the Burnham honeymoon over? Well, joining me now, GB News senior political correspondent Nigel Nelson and former political advisor Claire Pearsall. All right, Claire Pearsall, I will start with you.
Is the Burnham honeymoon over? I hope so, because I can't bear any more of his social media clips of pub trips or playing football, or what was the latest one? He was at Cambridge University trying to put something together. I don't want to see that. What I want to know is what he is actually going to do about the cost of living crisis, which he claims he really cares about, and who made him decide that Manchester was the north for everybody.
It's not really
there are
the north,
a lot of people further north than that who think Manchester is basically in the south. So I think he's managing to upset quite a lot of people all of the time with those decisions, and it's a monumental waste of money.
Does it not feel a bit studenty to you, the way he's going about things, have some pork scratchings with everybody and come down and be a man of the people and all that? It's like, look, don't patronise us with this sort of stereotypical whatever you're doing there, and just get on with attacking the policies that the people care about, like the boats, which took him 12 days.
Well, the kind of things that he's doing there, going to the pub, watching football, and that's him. That's what he's done all his life. I mean, I've known Andy Burnham for years, and he's always been into football, always been into going to the pub. So he's not doing anything unusual. The communications is better than it was.
That's not difficult.
Well, no, it wasn't difficult. I think the communications last time round, when Labour came into power, were absolutely appalling. However, the other important thing is that he wants to get around the country. He's spending August going around the country, talking to people with one simple question: how can I make your life better? That's good. Most prime ministers are encased in a security bubble, totally remote from the people they govern. Now, I think Andy Burnham will end up in that position because all prime ministers do. But as he's starting out, go and ask people, talk to people, find out what they want and see what he can give them.
But this tour, I mean, it's going to be hand-picked areas, hand-picked audiences. No difficult questions are going to really be put to him. I'd like to see where he's coming in the south east, because I don't think it's going to be anywhere near us.
You may be right, and obviously prime ministers do tend. That's why they get out of touch so quickly, because they meet people who've been chosen for them rather than randomly.
Well,
that's not what Andy Burnham is going to do. He's talking about going around there and actually talking to people who are affected by, say, for instance, high streets being neglected and wrecked by that neglect. He will talk to people who live there and say, how can we restore them? Now, I don't know if it works, but it's a good way of actually trying. Try and talk to people and say, what do you want? And then see what he can give.
He's also irritated practically everybody in the south, because all he's been going on about is the north and the regeneration that's going to go on up there. So what about coastal towns in the south, the southeast, the southwest? Doesn't mention any of those and what those, how this is all going to be solved. Going on about his grand plan to cap bus fares. Well, that's they're absolutely amazing if you have buses in the first place. And a lot of people don't. We live in a rural area. We don't have buses, which is why everybody needs to be able to drive.
But is your objection a lot to do with the fact that we live in the south of England?
Well, yes, because I do live in the south of England, but that's the point, isn't it? If he says he is the Prime Minister...
is wealthier than other parts of the country.
He says he is the Prime Minister for every postcode. And what I've seen so far is that postcodes like ours will get hit really hard because he believes that we have enough wealth to be able to redistribute it elsewhere. What he doesn't understand is that in parts of the south and the southeast, southwest, East Anglia, there are also pockets of deprivation. He doesn't really pay attention to that. Because we earn more money, he believes that we have wealth. What he doesn't seem to grasp is that we have higher costs as well.
But you would accept, Claire, that London and the South East tend to be wealthier areas to the North East and the North West. Overall,
with
there's
higher
much more
housing costs, higher transport costs,
but overall wealthier.
Kids going to schools further away, so you've You've got more transport costs going on. So, no, all right, I'll let you tell the people of Medway or Swale or parts of the South Coast like Hastings. I'll let you tell them that they've got enough money and they should just be grateful because it's absolute rubbish. And
I was arguing overall that you do have most of the money, or has been historically, most of the money centred in the south and southeast and London. All I'm saying is that what he's talking about is not punishing the south because of that. The idea is to try and redistribute better. Look, your Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
There you go. Isn't that just the socialist dream? So anybody who has aspired and they've worked hard, they've managed to get a property, they've got some money behind them, it's just going to be taken away because we need to make sure it's redistributed.
It doesn't have to be taken away.
That's the socialist dream. Where is the entrepreneurship coming into
Boris
all
Johnson
of this?
tried it,
People are
levelling
just
up.
going to go away.
Boris Johnson tried it, levelling up.
And how well does it go?
No,
That's the point.
It was a disaster under Boris Johnson. I mean, let's hope
do you think this is going to be any better?
Well,
you
we'll
think
see.
that taking money away from people who are working hard and have a little bit and are doing OK, and there's a lot of people who are just doing OK with all of the costs that are going up, and you think that it is perfectly acceptable to go take that money away from them to redistribute it to other areas where perhaps they aren't working as hard, perhaps they are in receipt of benefits, and perhaps it's just not going to work in that respect?
I mean, we'll have to. I think that probably some taxes will go up, and it rather depends on who gets hit. But I mean, Andy Burnham's basic idea is being that if you have to put taxes up, you tax wealth, not work. And that must be a good principle to work by. So if you're hitting people with a lot of money and distribute that money to places that don't have it, is that not a fair thing to do?
Purely the politics of envy. What you should be doing is encouraging other people to rise up, not cutting us all down to the same level, because that never works, doesn't it? Those kind of socialist
But the wealth gap in this country has increased over the last sort of 30, 40 years.
But whatever happened to aspiration? What about putting, regenerate high streets, regenerate areas where manufacturing used to be good and isn't anymore, and that's great. You need to encourage people to work. What you don't do hit those people who are working, who are just getting by. Don't hit them even harder.
But that's my point. We're not hitting those people. If you're talking about people who have huge wealth, or, for instance, you talk about equalising capital gains tax with income tax.
What are you considering to be this sort of high wealth? There's always this mythical thing that the people over there, they'll pay for it because they have more money. But what is the actual level? Because the level of wealth you're talking about, is it millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires, or is it just the people that happen to have a reasonably good salary on paper?
I am thinking millionaires. But, I mean, if you look at what happened with the non-dom tax, the argument's always been these people, if they're taxed more, they'll leave the country. Look at what happened to the non-dom tax, that 1,200 people did leave the country because of it. 80,000 stayed. My point is that the wealthiest people, the ones with the broadest shoulders, bear the biggest burden.
That's not true, though, is it?
No.
That's not true. Proportionally, that's not how it works, though, is it? It will all, if you drive away the wealthiest people, then the burden falls on the middle class. So the more wealthy people who pay the largest proportion of the tax, they pay the most amount of tax in proportion to the people in the middle. Once you get rid of them, the people in the middle will be taking up the shortfall.
My point is
but that's the problem with all this ideology of taking the money off the people who have the most, and they're paying in the most.
Well, that is arguable. I mean,
it's not arguable. It's true.
No. I mean, marginal tax rates are higher for people on average earnings than they are for millionaires. I mean, that's the way the tax system works.
Yes, but if you
they pay more money.
Yes, but if you remove the millionaires, then it'll be even higher.
I'm not
for the people
suggesting
in the
you
middle.
do.
But you will do with these sort of policies they come out with.
What happens is that they whinge and whine about it. Anybody does who has to pay more tax. The evidence shows that they don't actually leave the country. Some indeed do, but the majority do not.
No, we've had a big drain of wealthy people leaving this country. Everyone knows that. There's no sugarcoating it. It is a fact, and all that does is push the burden of tax into the middle classes. And also, when they talk about wealth, they then start lowering the levels to include more people in it, and that's all that happens. And in the end, the people in the middle pay more tax. Well, that's all that happens.
Well, you won't, in the sense that, provided he sticks to the manifesto commitment, which is not to actually raise the main areas of tax.
They've already broken it. They've raised VAT VAT, haven't they? They said they wouldn't, then they divided it into 2 segments and all this nonsense, and then they kept it. I mean, look, come on, Nigel, you know they have. All right, well, listen, what do you think? gbnews.com/you'll say 35 minutes after 3 o'clock. You're with me, I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News, still to come in my niggle. And Andy's Armada continues to move closer and closer to the UK. More than 500 small boat migrants crossing the Channel. But despite chaos in the Channel, the Prime Minister's gone on a tour around the UK. I'm calling it the Andy Burnham Make a Feel Good tour. But next, in another Great British Debate, I'm asking, will Burnham betray Brexit? This is GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry theme is set to continue for most of us as we go into the new working week, and there will be some strong spells of sunshine through the day on Monday. We have had a little bit of rain on Sunday, courtesy of a cold front that's clearing away to the east now. High pressure takes over for much of the coming week and temperatures will build, so turning hot for some by Tuesday and indeed Wednesday and Thursday. Out there this evening, some showery rain across parts of northern England. That's courtesy of that weak cold front, so a few dribs and drabs of rain perhaps across parts of North Wales and the Midlands through the early hours of Monday morning. Otherwise, though, many places will stay dry. It will turn quite chilly across more northern parts of the UK, temperatures in the countryside dipping into single figures. But in the south, lows of between 15 and 16 degrees in the towns and the cities, so a fairly warm night to come. As well as that, there may well be 1 or 2 mist and fog patches forming later in the night, particularly across southwest England, but those won't take very long to clear at all in that strong August sunshine. So a fine day to come for most of England and Wales, a bit of cloud around at times, but many places having plenty amounts of sunshine as well. 1 or 2 isolated showers for Northern Ireland and the west of Scotland, though most places dry. Fairly frequent showers, though, pushing into Shetland and Orkney, and here those showers will be accompanied by quite a brisk northwesterly wind, so here it will feel disappointingly cool once again for August, but otherwise with light winds and, as I say, a good deal amounts of sunshine. I am expecting temperatures to rise quite quickly, so it will be feeling warm by the afternoon, temperatures in the low to mid-20s for many, and perhaps 26 or 27 in the far south, but not as hot in the south as on Sunday. So a fine picture to begin the new working week for many, and it stays that way as we go into Tuesday too. Possibly just a little bit of patchy light rain and drizzle pushing into western Scotland for a time on Tuesday, but otherwise a lot of sunshine through the middle part of the week and indeed into Thursday too. Blue skies, cloudless conditions for many, and turning very hot in parts of England and Wales by Wednesday and Thursday, temperatures into the mid-30s.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon, 39 minutes after 3 o'clock. If you just tuned in, welcome on board. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. Don't forget as well, you can download the GB News app where you can listen and watch us for free at your leisure. But now it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, will Burnham betray Brexit? Andy Burnham has reportedly been presented with a new post-Brexit proposal which calls for Britain to rejoin the EU single market. However, Prime Minister would be expected to promise to extend the protection of Britain's armed forces and nuclear deterrent across the continent. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, will Burnham betray Brexit? Well, joining me now, GB News senior political correspondent Nigel Nelson and former political advisor Claire Pearsall. Nigel Nelson, he's heading in the direction of Brexit betrayal. I mean, we've got Ed Miliband off there as Foreign Secretary out there in the US. He tried to do a sort of meeting with the Spanish and Brussels or whatever, and he said, no, you don't do that. But maybe he's good cop, bad cop. Maybe they're playing a game because they actually both want the same thing.
Well, they were both Remainers, but
yeah, they were.
But I don't think that any Prime Minister at the moment would think about returning into the EU. You mentioned joining the single market. If you join the single market, we have to accept free movement. This country is not going to accept free movement again. And although Andy Burnham says that he hopes sometime in his lifetime there'll be a referendum on joining Europe, as Prime Minister, it's not going to happen. He will continue with the reset that Keir Starmer started, and that will make imports cheaper, and therefore our food bills will be cheaper.
Well, he might not do it sort of blazonly in your face, but he might do it sort of incrementally. So, for example, the UK-EU Defence Pact, where in there they gave away 12 more years of fishing for no real reason and nothing really in return apart from a promise of another meeting that might confirm some of the agreement that they hadn't yet agreed to. So these are slow creeps of, breaking the deal of Brexit without actually fully doing it in your face.
Well, I mean, it'll all be a negotiation. And yes, you're right, we're going to have to give some things away to Europe. I mean, Keir Starmer started out being against the youth mobility scheme, which Europe was awfully keen on.
Yeah, they would be.
And we now seem to be accepting it.
Well, they would be, because it's always like outnumbers the number of people are coming here.
Well, whatever, but it is a negotiation. There will be certain things we're giving away. When it comes to the Defence Pact, at the moment there is some really worrying intelligence coming out that we're about to go to war with Russia. Maybe not tomorrow, but a few years down the road. We need a Defence Pact, especially as we can't trust Donald Trump to honour his commitment to NATO. So on the basis of that, yes, we must do that. When it comes to other things, we're talking about making it easier to trade with Europe. So at the moment, for instance, it costs £145 per consignment of meat, fish, groceries coming over. If we get rid of that, that will make costs lower. So we will actually see lower costs in the supermarket.
Yeah, but we can do trades with other people. But if we do. Well, exactly. So then we can shop about. Exactly, we can shop about. We're not tied with them. If it's going to cost us 140 quid, they might consider changing that so it's a lot cheaper.
But also, why don't we look after our own farmers, if that's the case? Why are we paying to import all of that meat and stuff from abroad when we have our own farmers here who could deal with some of the cash that the government's got sloshing around, apparently, and actually have food that's grown and made in this country. So that's one thing. But I think that the Labour government is always looking for ways it can be closer to Europe. It really hates the fact that the British public voted to leave the EU. It really does want to reverse that. And I think Andy Burnham was quite blatant with his comments, saying he would, in his lifetime, would like to see us rejoin. But that's not an option.
But you would accept that economically, Brexit has not been a great success.
It depends what you're looking at.
Well, what I'm looking at is food inflation. Food inflation is a good example. Now, not all of that is down to Brexit, but about a third of it is. So that means each family is spending £250 on their food bill more a year because of Brexit. So if you can make trade easy with Europe, our biggest trading partner...
It always makes me laugh when people use food inflation as one of the reasons that Brexit hasn't worked. I mean, you start from the premise that we should never have left. So you're going to look for any of these
I'm a Remainer and I lost the argument to you guys.
I think that there were some things that have been handled very badly. I think the leaving process was not as straightforward and people didn't have any idea of how to enact it. But that's very, very different to saying that it's been a disaster, because I don't believe
I didn't say a disaster. What I said was we're economically worse off than if we hadn't left.
And what is missing is the love, care and attention to our own farming industry, growers. At the moment, because of all this hot weather, we're having a really good season for things like wine. We could then export that. We aren't making enough of what we have in this country, and farmers and landowners like that are just screaming out for a little bit of assistance to be able to make that.
But even the farming
it would also increase jobs, and if we're looking at the level of unemployment, you increase farming and those kind of activities and all of the supply chain that goes business with it. Then you can look at employment.
All
and
that's
you
fine.
take
I
that
agree.
out.
I agree with all that, and certainly we should do that. But we don't have enough. We're not growing enough in this country to feed the country.
Yeah, that's what I said.
That's why we import.
That's not down to Brexit. That is down to years of underinvestment.
That's right, but that means we have to trade with Europe
or America,
or America, or
and we
Canada,
do trade with America.
or
Exactly. But when it comes to foodstuffs coming over, Europe is our main market.
Well, it depends if they make it so that it's affordable for us. If they're stupid and they make it too expensive, then we'll find another way. It's just like the Strait of Hormuz.
It's not them making it too expensive. It is because Brexit put in new rules to protect the single market.
Well, you know, look.
Otherwise, it wouldn't work.
The EU could have easily given us a 0% trade, but they didn't want to do that, so therefore that's their own fault. But look, at least we have sovereignty. We do, don't we? But then if you do fancy going to Europe, though, by the way, here's the forecast of some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. If you're heading off on holiday to other parts of Europe, it's a sunny and increasingly hot outlook across many parts of the Mediterranean. There may well be an isolated afternoon or evening thunderstorm, particularly across inland parts of Turkey, Greece and the Balkans, but many parts of Italy and the Western Mediterranean will stay entirely dry on Monday with plenty of strong August sunshine. Into the outlook the rest of the week, well, the temperatures remain in the mid to high 30s, perhaps even above 40 Celsius in places.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Charlie, as most of the viewers know, I would be involved in agriculture. This isn't quite agriculture. It's quite close to it, the cousins of. A lot of things that go on in agriculture are on display here. Thousands of people coming to this site, Ragley Hall, just about 45 minutes out of Birmingham.
We are the modern ruralists, and here today we have the craft yard. We've got 9 different crafts, all demonstrating what they're up to. Here we have the wheelwrights, and they're bonding a wheel here. So this is an ancient craft that's been going for about. Barney Murray's a bit of a legend, quite frankly. He's the national champion, master dry stone waller, comes from North Wales, and he's a bit of a Thor lookalike, so he's quite popular.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now at 16 minutes past 8, the annual bike ride from Yorkshire to London is taking place today, aiming to honour the legacy of the Batley and Spen Labour MP Jo Cox, who was murdered by a far-right terrorist in June of 2016.
Well, the bike ride aims to champion a cause she was passionate about, as this year marks the 10th anniversary of her tragic death.
Kim, if we can just start with you, what is your sister's legacy?
Well, there's so much that we've got to be proud of that's been done in Jo's name. It's just been 10 years since she was murdered, and what has kept us going as a family has been the way that so many amazing people, including people like this amazing man, have done things in Jo's name to show what our country is really about. And you've got all these amazing people today from all different backgrounds, all walks of life, celebrating the things that we have in common, not agreeing on everything.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
It's a difficult question. Honestly, I don't think I would at this rate, because I think the government tracks, when we say we're fighting for Britain, what are we actually fighting for? The concept of Britain, I don't think exists anymore. When I look at Britain, when I go outside, it doesn't seem to be very British. And I think the core demographic of the people who would normally fight, these white working class boys who, you know, have been fighting for Britain, who we expect just to sacrifice their life in a fight, you know, they've been demonised for decades and decades by the government, by our education system, by the media. Economically, they've been disadvantaged. So why would we expect them to risk their lives when we've demonised them for so long and took them for granted for so long? And this concept of Britain fighting for the British government, you know, the British government has betrayed us.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon. Welcome to GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. I'm Nana Akua. Now let's travel over to America and let's speak to the host of the Politics People podcast, Paul Duddridge, and find out what's going on stateside. Let's talk about Israel rejecting Donald Trump's 15-point plan for Gaza. Netanyahu says that he's going to reject it. Why? I thought they were bosom buddies.
Well, this is what we're told, isn't it? We're told that Trump is completely in the pocket of Israel and that they are bosom buddies. No, I mean, look, Israel's going to keep rejecting it until Hamas entirely disarm, until it's actually proven. And I think that they've got good reason to. I have to come down. I love Trump, but I come down on the side of Israel here. I mean, they've had... It's literally since November the 30th, 1947, when the UN Declaration to create Israel was actually signed. They've had nothing but attacks from their neighbours. So I think that they're right to have an abundance of caution.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't really trust Hamas given the way they've behaved. And, you know, even, I mean, the whole thing in Gaza, I appreciate that it's terrible, people are dying, but, I mean, it's difficult to trust people who won't disarm. What about Trump privately supporting J.D. Vance for 2028? We thought Trump wanted to run again.
Well, this is it. This is it. I want Trump to run 2028 and 32, technically. However, he is now, even though publicly he's saying that the race is open and it's not for him to decide, we are getting reports internally that Trump has said to donors, back J.D. Vance. You must back J.D. Vance. There was a recent poll among conservative Republicans, a 36% lead for Rubio support amongst conservative Republicans. However, Trump is now telling donors to back Vance. So I think that's pretty much the die is cast. It's going to be interesting what happens after the midterms, but Trump is the Republican Party de facto these days.
Yeah, because J.D. Vance has just got a bit more charisma than Marco Rubio, I think, and I think he would be more, I think, in a sense, attractive to the American public. Let's talk about the ballroom, though, that's been halted by the court. No.
It's extraordinary. Anything Trump wants to do, they will find a court that will stop him. So now the ballroom has stopped work. They have now suspended, down tools. He has to go to the Supreme Court because the courts say there's some American heritage thing that wants him to stop doing any building at all on the East Wing. Who cares about the East Wing? But it's gone already. The East Wing's already gone, remember, and they're in the middle of just laying the foundations of the ballroom. But they want him to have to go to get permission from Congress. Even though it's there's supposed to be the division of powers, the separation of powers, they wanted to go to Congress to get permission to do the build. He's taken it to the Supreme Court. But as it stands, the work on the ballroom has now ceased. These minnows, anything at all to stop him achieving his goals. It's extraordinary every single week. I mean, I think he's got 2 or 3 court cases going on at the moment, stopping him doing anything. He buys his way out of it, quite rightly, or he signs an executive order. But that's it. So ballroom work has now has been suspended. He'll probably win because ultimately it is the president's residence and there is a separation of power. He is the executive. He'll win.
He'll win. Now, what about the windmills? I love this. He's scrapping wind energy.
Again, so... yeah, he hates wind energy. You got to remember, I think it's like 86% of global energy comes from oil, gas, and coal already. So all these things are just novelties. Trump, when he started back in this administration, tried scrapping all wind energy, and again the court stopped him. So now he's just buying out all the suppliers. So there's just this company. He instead of going through the courts anymore, instead of being thwarted everywhere, he's actually putting his money where his mouth is, or our money where his mouth is, and buying out these wind contracts because they are nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. You can run a digital watch from it, and that's about it. I'm really, really proud that he's doing that. He's been pushing back on this environmental hoax.
Well, listen, we agree with him. Listen, thank you so much, Paul Duddridge, as ever, host of the Politics People podcast. Good to talk to you. Next, my niggle. Andy's Armada continues as more than 500 small boat migrants come to Britain this weekend. But despite the chaos in the Channel, the Prime Minister is going on holiday and on tour.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry theme is set to continue for most of us as we go into the new working week, and there will be some strong spells of sunshine through the day on Monday. We have had a little bit of rain on Sunday, courtesy of a cold front that's clearing away to the east now. High pressure takes over for much of the coming week and temperatures will build, so turning hot for some by Tuesday and indeed Wednesday and Thursday. Out there this evening, some showery rain across parts of northern England. That's courtesy of that weak cold front, so a few dribs and drabs of rain perhaps across parts of North Wales and the Midlands through the early hours of Monday morning. Otherwise, though, many places will stay dry. It will turn quite chilly across more northern parts of the UK, temperatures in the countryside dipping into single figures. But in the south, lows of between 15 and 16 degrees in the towns and the cities, so a fairly warm night to come. As well as that, there may well be one or two mist and fog patches forming later in the night, particularly across southwest England, but those won't take very long to clear at all in that strong August sunshine. So a fine day to come for most of England and Wales, a bit of cloud around at times, but many places having plenty amounts of sunshine as well. One or two isolated showers for Northern Ireland and the west of Scotland, though most places dry. Fairly frequent showers, though, pushing into Shetland and Orkney, and here those showers will be accompanied by quite a brisk northwesterly wind, so here it will feel disappointingly cool once again for August, but otherwise with light winds and, as I say, a good deal amounts of sunshine. I am expecting temperatures to rise quite quickly, so it will be feeling warm by the afternoon, temperatures in the low to mid 20s for many, and perhaps 26 or 27 in the far south, but not as hot in the south as on Sunday. So a fine picture to begin the new working week for many, and it stays that way as we go into Tuesday too. Possibly just a little bit of patchy light rain and drizzle pushing into western Scotland for a time on Tuesday, but otherwise a lot of sunshine through the middle part of the week and indeed into Thursday too. Blue skies, cloudless conditions for many, and turning very hot in parts of England and Wales by Wednesday and Thursday, temperatures into the mid-30s.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome to Orlis Santi by Domes Resorts, and there's just 2 weeks left to see how you too could be enjoying the 5-star lifestyle. First, you can bank an incredible £60,000. We'll also give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates,
lively conversation,
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
and each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. It is 4 o'clock and for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next few hours, former political advisor Claire Pearsall and senior GB News political commentator Nigel Nelson. So coming up in my niggle.
We're just going to be relentless. People want to see this issue addressed. I heard that on the doorsteps in Makerfield. But we also need to build a system that offers safe routes for people as well, because that also takes away the selling point of the gangs.
Andy's armada continues as more than 500 small boat migrants come to Britain this weekend. But despite chaos in the Channel, the Prime Minister is going on tour and he went on holiday and he's going around the UK. Andy Burnham's going on the Make Her Feel Good tour. It's all good, isn't it? You like what I did there. Then in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, is Burnham's honeymoon over? My poll is live. Head over to gbnews.com and cast your vote. Also, Labour's early release scheme seems to be his first big test as Prime Minister, but will he be too busy eating pork scratchings?
You last buy a pack of pork scratches in a pub?
2 weeks ago.
Well, yeah.
Free speech fears grow as a new elite police unit refers more than 100 social media posts to local forces. Is it time that they stop policing our tweets? I can't say this with a straight face. And start actually policing our streets. Would be nice, wouldn't it? Then in the next Great British Debate, I'm asking, would David Lammy make a better mayor than Sadiq Khan? The former Deputy Prime Minister is reportedly plotting a bid to become the Mayor of London. Well, I know one man that would be gutted to see Sir Sadiq go.
He's a terrible mayor, and look at the crime you have in London.
And in the interview, I'll be speaking to journalist Janet Murray. Her exclusive today that an NHS trust has told trans staff that they can use women's toilets, and it's caused uproar from across the political spectrum. You're with me, I'm Nana Akua. This is G News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Andy Burnham's Make Her Feel Good tour. The Burnham Armada is heading straight for the UK, straight for us. At present, over 300 small boat migrants have arrived this weekend, as hundreds more are on their way today. Yet it took Andy 12 days, if my Burnham migrant mention clock is correct, to mention the boats. And he was forced to do it because of the invasion of Ceuta, a Spanish territory in northern Africa.
I mean, obviously that's a matter for the Spanish government first and foremost, but it is a cause for concern, and we are making contact with the Spanish government, the Spanish authorities, to provide support, but also to understand the implications of that situation.
In his first fortnight, official figures calculate that around 2,500 have arrived illegally via small boat. His busiest day occurred shortly after he was appointed. 752 came, completely unsustainable. And what's Andy doing? We're all going on a summer holiday. Yep, he's going on holiday. And when he comes back, he's going on tour to make her feel good. So basically,
You last buy a pack of pork scratches in a pub?
2 weeks ago.
Real problem of illegal migration head on. Frankly, I don't think he's taking things seriously. Well, why is he going on tour? It's quite clear what people want. We've got MPs to represent constituencies and to report back to Andy. So why does he need to go on a self-serving popularity contest? I wonder if his tour will include the village of Piddington, where migrant accommodation is planned, and GB News attended a protest yesterday where over 1,200 male migrants are planned to be housed in a village of approximately 300.
We as adults have started our campaign, and our chair, Tim McNally, he wrote a letter to Andy Burnham. That has fallen on deaf ears and we have had no response. We've had no consideration from the government so far. So our next step is to say, actually, the people who are going to be most affected are probably our children. So we're fighting for their future. So we're hoping their letters about why they love Piddington and why they don't want their childhood to be changed is by writing the letters to Andy Burnham, and hopefully he will listen.
Oh, what about Crowborough, Andy? Will you visit there, where the Home Office have repurposed a military training camp to house 540 male asylum seekers?
Warnings gone out to women to say don't walk alone. It's just gutting. It's just gutting because instead of it being a place where I've relaxed and unwound, it's a place where I just don't feel safe, including at my own house, which is in the middle of the forest. And I live alone, so therefore the anxiety, I've never even locked my door many a time because I felt so safe.
Probably best not to go there, Andy. Or perhaps he'll visit Thetford, where HMOs are dispersed throughout the town, some with 10 bedrooms, and a proposal to convert RAF Burnham, a former military base, is underway.
I get annoyed being an ex-serviceman that I know, and my colleagues, ex-service colleagues, we talk to each other on different times. There are people that we know, ex-servicemen, who sleep rough, and they won't put them in places like that and look after them.
So for you, it's the Home Office that need to take the responsibility?
Yes, it is. They're putting them there. And as I said, if I was one of them people coming over on a boat for whatever reason and they offered me accommodation like that, I'd take it, you know. And so that's it. It's not the people in there, definitely not them, because they're not causing any problems.
Nah, probably not. I can't see Andy visiting there. Or Weathersfield, or Linton-on-Ouse, which was abandoned as a site but now being revisited as potential accommodation. If he avoids questions from GP News, I doubt he'll show up in any of those places. It's just ridiculous. Of course there are people who will fall for it, his wonderful tour, but I'm with Susan Hall on this one.
He knows what we're all saying. They're all saying to him, stop the boats. So he's got big things to get on with, and he's not getting on with that. He'd rather go round with God knows how many film crew and social media types and get lots of photo opportunities. He's now the Prime Minister. He's got to deal with these big problems, and that's, first of all, sorting out these so-and-sos that are in prison and finding a way to make sure that we've got growth.
Just get on with the job, Andy. We need you to stop the boats, which are decimating our communities and costing us a fortune. Get on with it. We do not need you to waste time and money travelling around the country to make her feel good. I had fun writing that one. 7 minutes after 4 o'clock. This is GB News. I'm Nana Akua. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Coming up this hour in the Great British Debate, I'm asking, is it time to ignore the ECHR and return migrants to France? That is as GB News can reveal over 500 have arrived in Dover this weekend. Then in the next Great British Debate, I'm asking, do you believe that robots are the way forward to tackle crime? That is as Greggs have installed Robocop devices in stores to tackle shoplifting. And in the Pulse, I'll be speaking to an expert as common painkillers have been found to increase the risk of sunburn. Find out more later. That's all coming up in the hour. As ever, send me your thoughts. Post your comments at gbnews.com/your say. Well, I'm joined by Labour writer and commentator Paul Richards. Paul, does Andy make her feel good? Oh, he's laughing. He's not laughing.
Only yesterday, Nana, people were complaining that he was on holiday, and now he's back off his holidays and he's talking to people about the cost of living. People are complaining about that. The poor guy can't get a break, can he?
Well, he can get a break. He's just been on one. He's just been on a break. He's had a nice break.
How many days did he? How many he was away for? 4 days, was it? I mean, you know, with all.
Well, some
with all
people
the
can't
surrounded
afford
by
that,
his
so-
officials, the nuclear codes within arm's reach, the daily intelligence reports coming in. It's not a holiday as you and I would know it, I suggest.
Well,
anyway, he's back now. He's hit the ground running, and he's
poor
talking
Andy.
to people
Hang on,
about the
boo-hoo,
cost of
poor
living.
Andy.
And I think the cost of living is the most important issue that is facing us as a country. Our high streets are dying. People are feeling the pinch in their pockets, and he's going around and he's talking about what we can do to fix it. And I think that deserves a little bit of credit.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, that's his job. He's a Prime Minister. Boo-hoo. He only had 4 days. He should have known. You get into a job, you're lucky even to go on holiday in the first month anyway. Most of us can't do that. So there he is. He's on holiday for a couple of days, and now he's going around on some tour. It'll be on TikTok and all the other bits. And he's asking people what they want, but he should already know that. He knows we have a problem with the boats. It took him ages to talk about that. Why is he not going straight in there, getting stuck in, not travelling around the country?
I checked the clips on this. So GB News reported his speech when he won the Makerfield by-election, and the clip is still available on YouTube, where the thing he addresses head on is unfair immigration and HMO Britain. He said both of those things, and you can go and check. So it didn't take him ages. It took about 10 minutes.
No, I've seen that. That's not mentioning the small boats, is it? He said HMO Britain, and he talked about unfairness, but he did not talk about illegal migration specifically for people coming across. No, he didn't. He didn't. I was there on
migration.
Air. Yeah, he did not talk about illegal migration and people coming through on boats.
3 weeks or something. He addressed it the day he was elected as a member of Parliament. He addressed it head on, and he knows how important it is. And you and I have debated this endlessly.
That was the day. Now hold on.
Absolutely gets it.
The migrant mention clock very clearly started on the day he became leader of the Labour Party. OK? And that was on the Monday. So the speech you're referring to was on the Friday. Now, I'm being very clear that when he was Prime Minister, we expected him to talk about the boats, and he didn't.
He's already mentioned it, and he's going to be mentioning it a lot on this tour as well, because people will be asking questions about how we're tackling the small boat crisis. They'll want to know about HMOs and what you're going to do to stop this multi-billion-pound profiteering business that we seem to have created in this country. And if people want to demonstrate, I would demonstrate outside the offices of Serco and all these people who are profiteering off this system we've created. It's a balmy system.
Yes, but the government are employing them to do it and using taxpayers' money. So it's not anything.
Exactly, and that's why he says he wants to be. That's why he's saying we need to address this.
Yes,
also,
but that's
giving
not
more
the
powers
same.
to
Sorry,
council.
Paul, I just want to interject. That is not the same as people coming across the channel. By the time you're looking at accommodation, they are already here.
Sure, but there are people profiteering off that, and I think that one of the things he's saying is maybe even breach contracts that are in place with some of these profiteers and just stop this terrible business. Also, I think the idea that councils can intervene and stop the density of HMOs, there is a sort of technical thing here called Article 4, apparently, which means you can say you don't want so many in a neighbourhood, and he's giving greater powers for councils to do that, and I think most people would welcome that too. And on his tour, he's talking about the high streets, which you and I know are dying. Mine is a disaster. You know, there are independent traders really struggling, and the big shops have moved out. So again,
Reeves has done. But he may be addressing it, but these things have been put a foist on the taxpayer through the Labour Party. Now, the Conservatives did a terrible job, and it's indefensible. That's why they're no longer a credible party, in my view. But Labour have made it worse.
Well, I think there's a longer-term process of the decline of retail and high streets and out-of-town shopping has been going on for a long time. But if we can reimagine what a high street is for, and if he goes around and sees some of the success stories where people have got small independent traders, markets, places where you want to go and meet that are safe with proper police patrols and security patrols and all the things that make it a bit more family-friendly, then we can replicate that across the country. He's already talked about cracking down on the vape shops. And the things that blight the high street. And so, again, as he goes around the country talking to people, listening to what people have to say, maybe there's a hint of a general election in the air as well, who knows. I think this is a really good job for the Prime Minister to do. I don't want him hunkered down in Downing Street or even Downing Street North. I think going out and talking to people all over the country is a good idea.
He's got MPs all around the country who report what happens in their constituencies, and that's their job, to report back to the Prime Minister, to get very nice and close to him so that they can try and make changes in their areas, and that's what the MP does. He doesn't need to be going to do that. He needs to be tackling things from the top, and that is the small boat crisis. And I think people listening and watching get quite annoyed when the only solution to the problem is solving the problem once the migrants are here, and that's what I'm hearing. Oh, he's going to move the HMOs. We don't want them here. We don't want people travelling across that supposedly dangerous journey, which is probably safer than driving, to get to the UK, and then we've got a problem on how we house them. We want to stop the boats altogether. We're not hearing much about that.
He was at Dover a week ago, wasn't he, with Anna Turley, the Home Office Minister, and he was looking at Security Command there and discussing with Border Force and the security services about how we stop the boats. So he has, again, addressed that head-on, in person, on the ground, looking at seeing what happened.
And it took him 12 days to do that.
And that's him getting a grip on it.
It took him a long time to do that.
Isn't it?
Well, it's not really, is it? Because he's not doing anything about it. Now he's talked a little bit about it, and that's pretty much the only real soundbite we've got about it. And then he went down there. We want some action now. We don't want him going on tour and doing all the other stuff. We want him to come up with some policy so that we can hear how he's going to tackle it, because that's all very nice. I don't dislike Andy Burnham, but I want some action. And we've been waiting, this country, every single day that he's on tour. More and more arrivals are arriving, and we are sick to our back teeth of it. And we have to accommodate it. We want action now, not 2 weeks later I go on tour and I do this or do that. I want to hear what Andy Burnham will do about this problem that is happening right now. There are 500 at least already coming this way today. We've got hundreds on their way now.
So two things can be true, though, can't they? He can be out and about listening to people, listening to concerns about cost of living and high streets and crime and all the other issues, and at the same time being directed the security services and others to foil the plots to get the boats across the channel. And, you know, you never report on all the plots that have been foiled, all of the people have been banged up, and all of the boats that have been stopped before they got anywhere near the water.
There was one that got banged up for a year.
I mean, thousands and thousands.
There was one, I do recall reading yesterday about someone who got banged up for a year for smuggling people across the channel, which is tantamount to sort of slave trade. But it was 1 year. What's the deterrent in that? It was probably out within 3 months. Do you know what I mean?
Well, maybe we should look at
the early release scheme that the government have going currently.
Well, maybe we do need tougher sentences as well to disrupt the gangs. But, you know, that is how you stop it, is you stop the trade and you stop the people profiteering from it on both sides of the channel, actually. And you know, make that business unviable. So the criminals will always go after the money. They will always go after where the money is. If you make it unprofitable for them, they will go somewhere else, and this vile trade will cease. And as you say, it is modern. It is akin to the slave trade. It is a moral evil on the same level, I would say.
But you know, so why is he not? So given all the talk about reparations and all the things, given all the talk about things like reparations and how evil the slave trade was some 400 years ago or whatever, we're busy talking about that. What about the current trade that's going on now in people, and also the industry that has been made out of it, like companies like Serco, Clear Springs, all employed, by the way, by the government to house these people? Nobody seems to want to stop them though, because lots of people are making a lot of money out of this. It's in almost no one's interest. The human rights lawyers all benefiting, making a lot of money out of it. It's actually quite insulting to the British public that he thinks he should go on a tour and talk about, find out what people want. I wonder if he'll go to Wethersfield, or perhaps he'll go to Pidlington. Do you think he'll go there on his tour?
Well, people can't have it both ways, right? We closed the hotels because people were trying to burn them down and they didn't like the hotels in their town. So they have to go somewhere. He's now addressing the issue of the HMOs, but that does mean the camps have to open up and people have to be put into these ex-RAF and ex-military camps. And nobody wants them, but that's the best option available, rather than having people in city centres in, the Ramada Hotel or whatever it might be, which is unacceptable. And that was the Tory policy. Cost the taxpayer.
Nobody
by the way.
We're not happy with the Tories. As you see, they've literally vaporised themselves. So nobody's saying the Tories did a good job, but Labour are expected to do a bit better. And I suspect that if Andy were to say, OK, when people arrive, they can't just roam freely as they are, and he found a way to do that, a lot of people would be a lot happier. And I could tell him that without him going on tour. And why is he not trying to... He should be initiating some sort of policy to stop unvetted, mostly men, being able to roam our streets in this country, having come from abroad and claiming asylum. I mean, that would be a very simple policy if you found a way around that. That would be a start.
I think the danger of turning them into prison camps is that who would then guard them? How would they be guarded? What would the security system be around those to actually prevent people from escaping?
Well, we'd need to do that.
Because as we know, so you would turn them into prison camps with guards.
Pretty much. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Because
I don't see how that
they've
would
crossed
work.
the channel illegally, and B, because I don't know who they are. They could be murderers, paedophiles, and some of them are. Some of them aren't, but some of them are. So I don't want to be sitting there working out, gambling on the safety of the British public, and it's mostly women and girls who are affected by this. So I wouldn't be gambling the safety of the British public on people who I don't know, simply because I'm worried about the cost of prison guards. I'd have prison guards out there, and I tell you what, it would act as a complete deterrent, and a lot of them would stop coming.
I mean, what I would do to address that issue, though, is I would put them into high vis and get people out in work gangs, you know, clearing up graffiti and litter and sorting out canal sides and all that sort of thing, so people can see people actually contributing and getting something, you know, putting something back for the support that they get and actually doing something useful rather than being corralled into camps, which I can't help but feel would create flashpoints and more danger than we've suddenly got.
They've come here saying that they're in danger, so we've given them food and shelter. We don't need to give them free range as well because we don't know who they are. Paul Richards, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you. He's a political commentator, a Labour writer and a commentator. Right now, let's do it. The Great British Giveaway, £60,000 in tax-free cash could be yours and a gold bar. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
Welcome to Orlis Santi by Domes Resorts. I'm in one of their beautiful sea view rooms. Luxurious, right? And there's just 2 weeks left to see how you too could be enjoying the 5-star lifestyle. There's over £65,000 in cash and gold to be won. First, you can bank an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. That's cash you could save, spend the rest of the year spending, or just relax somewhere like here. The award-winning Soma Spa will also give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000. Just make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 21st of August.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Still to come in the interview, I'll be speaking to journalist Janet Murray. Her exclusive today that an NHS trust has told trans staff that they can use the women's toilets. And it's caused uproar from across the political spectrum. But next, in the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is it time to ignore the ECHR and return migrants to France? This is GB News.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis, in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there.
With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
25 minutes after 4 o'clock. If you just tuned in, where have you been? That old excuse again. We start at 3, just so you know. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It's time now for the Great British Debate this hour, and I'm asking, is it time to ignore the ECHR and return migrants to France? Now, GB News can reveal that over 500 migrants have arrived in Dover this weekend as conditions improve on the channel. And it comes as hundreds protested in Bicester against plans for a new asylum centre at nearby Piddington. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is it time to ignore the ECHR and return migrants to France? Well, joining me now is GB News senior political correspondent Nigel Nelson and former political advisor Claire Pearsall. All right, Nigel Nelson, is it time?
Well, first of all, the ECHR really doesn't have much to do with it. What we talk about here is French sovereignty in the same way we talk about British sovereignty. So if the French said, yep, you just bring them all back and we'll look after them, that would be fine. The French don't say that. And until you have French agreement, none of this is a go, which is why Reform's current policy is ludicrous. It can't possibly work and causes more trouble than it's worth. And the one big thing is it won't stop the boats.
All right, Claire Pearsall.
The one thing that I think we haven't really talked enough about when it comes to this debate is why we're not detaining people when they get here. If they come via an irregular means, in other EU countries, they are held in what is essentially a detention centre until they can verify the identity of an individual, have a look at any criminal record. So I think that we need to start looking at how we're going to make it more unattractive to come to this country. So I think we all get very stuck on the issue of the small boats coming across and whether France should be doing more. They should, because they're not doing enough for the money that we've given them. But in a longer term issue, what are you going to do when they are arriving here? Because at the moment we put them up, bed and board, they have a particularly good existence. You need to start looking at what your deterrent factor is going to be. And we don't have one at the moment. We don't have a deterrent. We could argue all we like about whether the French should take them back, because even if we do put them back on French shores, they are likely to try and come again. So what are we going to do with those people that we've got? We need to be able to move them on. You need to look at third country processing and get the problem from our own shores. That's what we need to be looking at, and that's certainly what Andy Burnham is not looking at.
Well, he is. I mean, he's already said that one of the things that he will look at is whether we can use safe routes. So,
but that's not a deterrent. A safe route is not a deterrent, and it actually causes more problems.
It is a deterrent for crossing the channel.
No, it isn't.
It isn't. Look, we have a situation here where you can only claim asylum once you're on British soil or at a British border. That's what you're going to take away, because that is the draw of the channel.
OK, and so these safe routes, who are they for?
Well, the first thing is the offshore processing that you mentioned. I mean, Keir Starmer tried to get that with Albania. The Albanians said they didn't want 40,000 people traipsing over their country.
He should have tried other countries.
So it's hard to do. But if you can get offshore processing, that's where you would go to be processed for asylum, rather than crossing the channel and coming into Britain.
But that's very, very different. Third country processing is very different to safe routes. So what are these safe routes and who are they for? And everybody falls down this particular rabbit hole especially when they come from the left of the political spectrum, because safe routes generally are bespoke schemes. We've had them for Syrian vulnerable persons resettlement, we've had them for Hong Kong,
which work very well,
and we've had them for Ukraine,
which seems to work well as well.
So you're going to have how many different schemes? How many different countries?
I don't think you need to have different schemes. At the moment,
how are you going to differentiate?
You're exploring possibilities. First of all, you are not going to stop the boats overnight. And when you hear politicians from Reform and the Conservative Party arguing there's a quick fix, they are deceiving people. There isn't a quick fix. We know that. So the answer is we're exploring ways of doing it to take away the draw from the channel. So safe routes would be one. Offshore processing and settlement schemes would be another. But
how is it a deterrent to say here is a route, and how are you going to determine who is entitled to use
the same way you do now? But rather than do it on British,
what do you mean the same way that we do now?
Say take an offshore processing centre. The people who will be doing the processing, this was what the Italians hoped to get sorted out with Albania themselves. The people who would do the processing are the same people who do the processing here. The difference is it's taking place on foreign shores, not on British shores.
You are conflating two completely different policy ideas. Third country processing is very different to setting up safe routes, and this is what I keep saying to you.
Well,
where is a deterrent factor with
I'm
safe
arguing
routes?
there are different things. So if you were doing the safe route,
you're not arguing that
I'm not saying they're all the same thing.
They are very separate.
So if you had a safe route, if there was a way that people could apply, say, from a refugee camp to come to Britain, those are the settlement schemes, and those are settlement schemes. That would take away the draw from the channel. What we've got to do is stop people having to cross the channel to claim asylum.
But safe routes that everybody keeps putting forward, especially from your political spectrum, is not the answer. I mean, I have been working on those routes when I was at the Home Office. I have helped set up particular schemes, and they are very specific. They are very tightly drawn for a very specific reason. For Hong Kong, they were British nationals overseas. It was a very different reason. I wasn't there, obviously, when Ukraine kicked off, but you can understand that you would need a very specific scheme to help those individuals. But then that gets closed off. What you're talking about is that anybody could just apply. We're going to set up millions of different schemes. And it's just never going to work.
I mean, obviously, anyone can apply for asylum. It's as simple as that. It doesn't mean they get it. So just because you have schemes which take place abroad and not in Britain, it doesn't mean any more people will be granted asylum than are granted now, maybe even fewer. The whole point I'm making is that let's get the idea that we must stop. We must change the law, which means that people have to claim asylum on British soil and try and shift it elsewhere. Rwanda might have actually worked, that being processing rather than making people stay there for good.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that scheme was badly drawn up, and it was drawn up in a hurry, and it wasn't going to be completely effective, but it also wasn't given the chance to even see if
we don't know if it would have been a deterrent, but there was no evidence. But you will admit, again, from your Home Office days, there was no evidence it would have been a deterrent.
And I've said that. I think it was badly drawn up, and I think it could have been a lot better. And I do think that if it was given half a chance, we could have seen if there was going to be a deterrent effect. Whereas at the moment, creating safe routes is no deterrent effect. I think you need to start.
Do you accept the principle we must try and get people to apply for asylum not in Britain?
Yes, absolutely. But also,
right. Well, that's our starting point. That's our starting point for a solution.
No, because that isn't going to stop those boats coming over.
That's not going to stop the boats. The people who are prepared to do that and fill in the forms and go to they're not the same people who are getting on the boats, Nigel. That's you're working in an environment where people are we'll play by the rules and we'll play. These people aren't playing by the rules. These people are quite happy to play smugglers because they know they're going to get here, go under the radar, and they're the kind of people that probably would be refused asylum via safe and legal routes. But hey ho, they're coming here in their droves. In fact, they're on their way now. Frankly, I don't know why the government just don't do something serious immediately. Andy Burnham, you need to get off that silly tour and seriously get on with managing this awful situation in the Channel. All right, well, stay tuned. 34 minutes after 4 o'clock. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua. Still to come in my interview, I'll be speaking with journalist Janet Murray. Her exclusive today that an NHS trust has told trans staff that they can use women's toilets, and it's caused uproar from across the political spectrum. But next in the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, do you believe that robots are the way forward to tackle crime? This is GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry theme is set to continue for most of us as we go into the new working week, and there will be some strong spells of sunshine through the day on Monday. We have had a little bit of rain on Sunday, courtesy of a cold front that's clearing away to the east now. High pressure takes over for much of the coming week and temperatures will build, so turning hot for some by Tuesday and indeed Wednesday and Thursday. Out there this evening, some showery rain across parts of northern England. That's courtesy of that weak cold front, so a few dribs and drabs of rain perhaps across parts of North Wales and the Midlands through the early hours of Monday morning. Otherwise, though, many places will stay dry. It will turn quite chilly across more northern parts of the UK, temperatures in the countryside dipping into single figures. But in the south, lows of between 15 and 16 degrees in the towns and the cities, so a fairly warm night to come. As well as that, there may well be one or two mist and fog patches forming later in the night, particularly across southwest England, but those won't take very long to clear at all in that strong August sunshine. So a fine day to come for most of England and Wales, a bit of cloud around at times, but many places having plenty amounts of sunshine as well. One or two isolated showers for Northern Ireland and the west of Scotland, though most places dry. Fairly frequent showers, though, pushing into Shetland and Orkney, and here those showers will be accompanied by quite a brisk northwesterly wind, so here it will feel disappointingly cool once again for August, but otherwise with light winds and, as I say, a good deal of amounts of sunshine. I am expecting temperatures to rise quite quickly, so it will be feeling warm by the afternoon, temperatures in the low to mid-20s for many, and perhaps 26 or 27 in the far south, but not as hot in the south as on Sunday. So a fine picture to begin the new working week for many, and it stays that way as we go into Tuesday too. Possibly just a little bit of patchy light rain and drizzle pushing into western Scotland for a time on Tuesday, but otherwise a lot of sunshine through the middle part of the week and indeed into Thursday too. Blue skies, cloudless conditions for many, and turning very hot in parts of England and Wales by Wednesday and Thursday, temperatures into the mid-30s.
I've been in Westminster for a long time. But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, 37 minutes after 4 o'clock. This is GB News. We are live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. And don't forget as well, you can stream the show live on YouTube, or why not download the GB News app. But first, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, do you believe that robots are the way forward to tackle crime? Greggs are deploying anti-crime pods supplied by police as part of a trial to tackle shoplifters. Now, manufactured by security firm Safe safer group. The pod captures CCTV footage, which is monitored by 24-hour remote security guards who are alerted immediately to any incident. There you go, see? So for the Great British Debate, I'm asking, do you believe that robots are actually the way forward to tackle crime? Well, joining me now is GB News' senior political correspondent Nigel Nelson and former political advisor Claire Pearsall. Claire, I think this is a novel idea. It reminds me of RoboCop.
It does, doesn't it? Now, I've seen these in one of our local supermarkets. They had them in the alcohol aisle. And you still walk down the aisle and you come face to face with it. It's relatively intimidating. And I've heard them it's made a noise a few times if somebody's taken a bottle off a shelf and perhaps tried to wiggle the security tag. So they do actually work. And I think it's a really good idea. What worries me slightly is what are they doing with the rest of the images that they're capturing? How long are they storing it? So just an innocent person walking past, is that image going to be stored anywhere? What are the data laws around that? But Claire, actually, I think this is a really good idea.
But that ship has sailed, really. I mean, you go into a supermarket, you're captured on the camera when you're going in. They've got cameras all over. It's not as if, and we're not worried about what they're doing.
CCTV is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It is, but I don't think it's unreasonable to want to know how long they're holding it for. But I think anything that can help with the rise in shoplifting in stores, as long as they've got the security guards ready to be deployed to pick these people up, then great.
They need to have like a sort of lasso rope underneath, so that if somebody is running away, they just grab the foot and then
zip you up to the roof like that.
Comes out, catches the foot, and then there's no one will be held responsible or blamed for it.
If it's a shoplifter, I'm all in favour of something like that. I mean, I don't know whether it's the future of policing these robo-cops, but yeah, it's worth a try. I mean, if shoplifting has gone up by 133% over the last 5 years, there is some evidence that these are 98% effective in stopping shoplifters because flashing lights go off and sirens and so on. So it's quite intimidating for anyone who's trying to steal something. So yes, let's give it a try. Let's see if it works. I'd take Claire's point about privacy and how long your images are kept for, but I think it's a minor one. The idea that you might stop shoplifting would be great.
Yeah, but aren't you concerned though in the world of robots that they could go wrong and malfunction? There was one robot, I think it was in China, where it was dancing and it kicked someone in the ghoulies or whatever it did.
Well, I don't mind that if somebody's going to try and nick a whole load of stuff out of a supermarket, if it kicks the right person. But I mean, I think all of this new technology has a way to go, but I don't think that we can dismiss it entirely. I wouldn't like to see it chasing off down the road. I think that's a little bit sort of something out of Doctor Who, if it's chasing you down the road. But why not? Why not have these things around? Anything that you've got to act as a deterrent to shoplifters and catch them in the act.
And especially as it's organised crime now, which is doing so much shoplift. I mean, we saw it in our local supermarket. Organised criminals who just cleared the shelves.
You can't
and
do
no one
much
did
about
anything
that.
because it was really intimidating. They started a mock fight to actually make sure that people were distracted, and then they cleared the shelves off.
Well, listen, lots of people have been getting in touch about this. Adrian says, no, get the police out of the libraries nearby where they are sitting and arrest them. Really, they're not doing anything, is what they're saying. This is interesting. And this one is about Rwanda. And I must tell you this. Michael says, please, Nana, please remind Nigel that Rwanda was working. The crossings slowed. Others were taking themselves to Ireland. And the ones in France said that they were waiting for Labour to win the election because they didn't want to risk being sent to Rwanda. Why does he ignore that, Nigel? If you could address that quickly.
Yes, certainly. All anecdotal evidence.
It's not.
It is anecdotal. There was never any proper surveys done to confirm that. Yes, some people went to Ireland. Yes, they told journalists they went there.
What other evidence do you need when people are telling you themselves that they are?
I need a proper study. Study done.
Come on. No, so it's people.
I've been a journalist. You go up to somebody and say, "Oh, by the way, did you come to Ireland because you were frightened about going to Rwanda?" "Oh yeah, I came to Ireland because I was frightened about going to Rwanda."
No, they didn't ask that though. And I saw Patrick Christie's, he did an interview with somebody who said that they are specifically waiting for Keir Starmer to get in so that they could cross. But what I'm saying is,
it may be a proper study.
No, but I'm prepared on this to take anecdotal evidence from people who are actually trying to cross or attempting to get across to hear what they say. And if those people specifically tell you, actually, no, we don't like Rwanda or we're going to Ireland because of it, then that is evidence as far as I'm concerned.
My point is that you need a proper study to get real evidence.
So how would you give me an example of how you would do that study then, Nigel?
You take 1,000 people
of anecdotal evidence from people who've said that.
Well, it's not anecdotal. If you're taking 1,000 people and doing a proper survey to find out what their attitudes are and what their situation is, you would have some kind of study at the end of it to say X proportion of those said they didn't go because of Rwanda. Then you have some real proof.
Can you see why that would be a difficult survey to do?
Yes, I do. It's incredibly difficult.
Therefore, all you're left with are taking the information from people who are actually planning to cross.
Yes, and I'm not. What I'm arguing is it is not persuasive evidence as it stands.
But what you're proposing is impossible. So therefore, you are suggesting
not impossible,
it is
difficult.
No, it wouldn't be possible to find 1,000 migrants and go and ask them, did Rwanda put you off?
They're all in Calais, so you could find them fairly easily.
Well, no, I don't think it would be realistic, really, because you'd have to actually go down to the migrant camp. And I think
you would, yeah. I mean,
but we've got people who are saying that. So for me, I'd be happy to take that. And what this person is saying is that actually Michael is saying that just to remind you that there were people who said that they wouldn't come across because of.
Well, the most senior official at the Home Office wouldn't sign it off for value for money because there was no evidence it was a deterrent.
Well, Adrian says that we must have the Rwanda deterrent back or somewhere similar. No one will go to Rwanda, but the boats will stop. They won't pay thousands if they think that they are going somewhere without freebies. They were going to Ireland, remember? So another one reminding you of that as well. And then Delphine says somewhere, I believe that Burnham is not at all concerned to be the fall guy. He will do the best he can. Well, I won't read the rest of that, actually. Yes, I'll leave that. I'll leave that one right there. But keep your thoughts coming. gbnews.com/your say. I'll try and read as many as I can. But before we move on, let's check out the holiday sun in Europe.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. If you're heading off on holiday to other parts of Europe, it's a sunny and increasingly hot outlook across many parts of the Mediterranean. There may well be an isolated afternoon or evening thunderstorm, particularly across inland parts of Turkey, Greece and the Balkans, but many parts of Italy and the Western Mediterranean will stay entirely dry on Monday with plenty of strong August sunshine. Into the outlook for the rest of the week, well, the temperatures remain in the mid to high 30s, perhaps even above 40 Celsius in places.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain's newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Yes, the Malaysian government has announced that it will renew the search for Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, which disappeared 10 years ago without a trace.
Yes, the plane was carrying 239 people from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Previous attempts to locate the plane have all failed, leaving the families of those on board without any kind of closure.
Well, for more on this, let's speak to Terry Tozer, a former airline pilot and author of Confessions of an Airline Pilot, Why Planes Crash. Terry, you sound like the perfect man to talk to about this, because this is perhaps the biggest aviation mystery of our modern age.
Yeah, it is, and obviously a great tragedy as well. It's good to know that they're going to have another crack at trying to find it.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is just health and safety gone mad. It's not the role of public authorities to be telling people what's for their best interest. And the reality is it's probably better to take the chance of a tree branch falling on you than going out in the sun and getting getting burnt in the sun. But the reality is the reason why these councils are saying you've got to stay out of underneath the trees is they don't want anybody to get struck by a branch which they have a liability to, whilst they don't have a liability for anybody getting sunburnt. So it's all to do with public liability. I mean, if you look at East Cheshire Council, for example, in 2024, they had to pay out £500,000 because a branch fell on somebody.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In my hand, I have the colander. I have a piece of paper. Yes, there you have one too. So I'm going to run it so you can see me. So I think what you do is you shine, you indicate, you tell me what to do, and I'll do it for you.
You never look at the sun directly.
Yep,
you
good.
allow the light to go through the colander, and that'll actually act as a pinhole camera and project images of the sun onto the piece of paper, and then you can look at the piece of paper and see the eclipse take place. Simple as that. You can do it also by using binoculars or a telescope and projecting an image through from them onto a piece of paper.
Yep.
That will work just as well. Or get a bucket of water, let it settle, and look in the bucket of water, and you'll see the image of the sun in the water, and then you can observe the eclipse that way.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, welcome to GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. I'm Nana Akua, 49 minutes after 4 o'clock. Now it's time for the Pulse, and health chiefs have warned that common painkillers such as ibuprofen can increase the risk of sunburn. Now the reason is that some medicines make skin more sensitive to sun exposure and prone to burning more quickly and more severely than usual. Well, I know about that myself, but NHS General Practitioner Dr. David Lloyd is here to tell us more. So, David, talk to me about this, because a lot of people won't realise that. I realise it because of some medications I used to have to take for rheumatoid arthritis, but there'll be others who don't realise this. So what are the medicines that we need to be careful with and aware can cause this or make it easier?
Exactly right. There are some drugs that are well known, and your drug for rheumatoid arthritis is certainly one of the more severe ones. There is a very small link between naproxen, ibuprofen, what we call non-steroidals, and sun sensitivity. But it just increases very slightly the chances of you getting if you like, a more severe sunburn. And paradoxically, the NHS website says that ibuprofen and naproxen are very good treatments for sunburn. So it isn't a big deal. It's not serious. But it does raise the issue that if you are using any prescribed medication, lots of them do cause problems with the sun, and you need to be aware of that and take extra precautions. Naproxen can sometimes cause a nasty blistering rash as well, which is quite fun to see as a doctor.
So why is that? What is it in them that will make your skin potentially more sensitive to the sun?
Well, it's you're right to ask, and I don't know whether I can explain it. It's the link between your immune system and your skin, and your skin is, if you like, the largest organ in your body, and so if there is a slight interaction between a drug and your body, the skin can be one of the places where it shows itself. The other thing that non-steroidals do, that's naproxen, ibuprofen, like that, is that they do have an effect all the time on your kidney. So dehydration, which is a common problem in the sun, and non-steroidals is actually much more of a problem than getting a severe sunburn. So do be very careful if you're taking these drugs, and you do need to take them, and don't stop them just because of this, but make sure that you're well hydrated before you go out in the sun.
Do people need to be careful for long-term use of things like ibuprofen? Are those drugs addictive?
They're not addictive, but you're right to ask about whether they are safe in the long term. As a general rule, GPs are going to say use them whenever you want them, but don't take them forever unless you have something which does need them. And you mentioned your own condition, rheumatoid arthritis. There are lots of people with rheumatoid who are taking non-steroidals every day to help them with the pain and the stiffness of that particular condition. While we're on the subject of sun, if I can just stick my oar in, I'm sure we're going to cover this endlessly, but there is an eclipse of the sun on Wednesday, and it's quite likely it's going to be a very clear night. So please, I hope you'll be covering over the next few days the importance of not looking directly at the sun, because you really can do severe damage to your eyes.
Really? Because I knew that you can't look at the sun for a long time, or really you shouldn't look at it. But just out of interest, how long, somebody may look at it, but how long would it take it to sort of burn your eyes out, I suppose, or do whatever it would do to you if you stared at it? Not that I would do that, but I'm wondering, is there a safe time?
I don't think there is a safe time because the actual partial eclipse is going to last sort of 10 to 15 minutes, and London is one of the best places to see it. So the sky will go very dark, and the country goes very quiet. Have you ever sat through one? It is the most extraordinary thing. And the last time I saw one, the world went very quiet, and then suddenly the leaves went into shadow. It is the most beautiful thing, and it is very tempting to stare at the dark sun, but the sun is still emitting radiation.
Okay.
And that radiation can do damage to your eyes.
I see. So even with the eclipse, it's emitting the radiation at the same velocity as it would do if it wasn't eclipsed, or a bit less.
Exactly. So, and that's what's doing the damage to your eyes. So please do either look indirectly at the sun or get some proper approved eclipse glasses for looking at it.
All right. Thank you for that bit of advice, Dr. David Lloyd. I'd have been staring at it going, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, no, well, President Trump did, and everybody got terribly upset for him.
Okay.
So it is terribly bad.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, David. I have to leave it there, but good to talk to you. Plenty more still to come. Journalist Janet Murray will be joining us shortly.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry theme is set to continue for most of us as we go into the new working week, and there will be some strong spells of sunshine through the day on Monday. We have had a little bit of rain on Sunday, courtesy of a cold front that's clearing away to the east now. High pressure takes over for much of the coming week and temperatures will build, so turning hot for some by Tuesday and indeed Wednesday and Thursday. Out there this evening, some showery rain across parts of northern England. That's courtesy of that weak cold front, so a few dribs and drabs of rain perhaps across parts of North Wales and the Midlands through the early hours of Monday morning. Otherwise, though, many places will stay dry. It will turn quite chilly across more northern parts of the UK, temperatures in the countryside dipping into single figures. But in the south, lows of between 15 and 16 degrees in the towns and the cities, so a fairly warm night to come. As well as that, there may well be one or two mist and fog patches forming later in the night, particularly across southwest England, but those won't take very long to clear at all in that strong August sunshine. So a fine day to come for most of England and Wales, a bit of cloud around at times, but many places having plenty amounts of sunshine as well. One or two isolated showers for Northern Ireland and the west of Scotland, though most places dry. Fairly frequent showers, though, pushing into Shetland and Orkney, and here those showers will be accompanied by quite a brisk northwesterly wind, so here it will feel disappointingly cool once again for August, but otherwise with light winds and, as I say, a good deal of amounts of sunshine. I am expecting temperatures to rise quite quickly, so it will be feeling warm by the afternoon, temperatures in the low to mid-20s for many, and perhaps 26 or 27 in the far south, but not as hot in the south as on Sunday. So a fine picture to begin the new working week for many, and it stays that way as we go into Tuesday too. Possibly just a little bit of patchy light rain and drizzle pushing into western Scotland for a time on Tuesday, but otherwise a lot of sunshine through the middle part of the week and indeed into Thursday too. Blue skies, cloudless conditions for many, and turning very hot in parts of England and Wales by Wednesday and Thursday, temperatures into the mid-30s.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome to Orlis Santi by Domes Resorts, and there's just 2 weeks left to see how you too could be enjoying the 5-star lifestyle. First, you can bank an incredible £60,000. We'll also give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It's 5 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. And for the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next hour, former political advisor Claire Pearsall, and GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. So, in my niggle.
We're just going to be relentless. People want to see this issue addressed. I heard that on the doorsteps in Makerfield. But we also need to build a system that offers safe routes for people as well, because that also takes away the selling point of the gangs.
Feel good! Andy Burnham's armada continues as more than 500 small boat migrants come to Britain this weekend. But despite chaos in the Channel, the Prime Minister is going on tour. The UK, yes, have a look around. Andy Burnham, I'm calling it the Make a Feel Good tour, yes. If you missed it, you can catch my niggle on YouTube on GB News. And then in the Great British Debates, I'm asking, is Burnham's honeymoon over? The poll is now live. Head over to gbnews.com. Please cast your vote. The poll closes very shortly. Now, Labour's early release scheme seems to be his first big test as Prime Minister. But will he be too busy eating pork scratchings?
Did you last buy a pack of pork scratchings in a pub?
2 weeks ago.
Oh. Yeah.
He's not an actor, is he? I mean, come on. Anyway, moving on. Free speech fears grow as a new elite police unit refers more than 100 social media posts to local forces. It's difficult to say that without laughing. Is it time they stop policing our tweets and start policing our streets? Then in the next Great British Debate, I'm asking, would David Lammy make a better mayor than Sadiq Khan? The former Deputy Prime Minister is reportedly plotting a bid to become the Mayor of London. Well, I know one man that would be gutted to see Sir Sadiq go.
He's a terrible mayor, and look at the crime you have in London.
And in the interview, I'll be speaking to journalist Janet Murray. Her exclusive today that an NHS trust has told trans staff that they can use women's toilets, and it's caused uproar from across the political spectrum. So, small boat crossings are surging again as conditions improve on the Channel. GB News can reveal that over 500 migrants have arrived in Dover this weekend. And it comes as hundreds protested in Bicester against plans for a new asylum centre at nearby Piddington. Well, I'm joined now by former Immigration Minister Kevin Foster. Kevin, thank you very much for joining me. Kevin, I have been saying, people have been looking and laughing at me as if it's a ridiculous notion that I'm saying, don't let them get past the halfway line that says they are now in British waters. Now, I don't know how we do it, but in my view, the idea is to stop the migrants from even coming into the UK, entering British waters in the first place. Sounds crazy, I know, but hey, 1 in, 1 out got through.
Yeah, well, 1 in, 1 out was always going to be doomed to failure, really, because the numbers were pretty small. You ended up getting people from France. You know, let's remember, this weren't people coming from a difficult part of the world. They were coming from France, a modern democracy, to the UK, and few would see you as needing any form of safety from France. But where the issues come more detailed are, it is difficult to stop boats in the middle of the channel. It's one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. You get into all the issues around potential loss of life if you do. Yeah, there is a model there. If Andy Burnham wants to be relentless, what I'd suggest he did is go over to the US southern border, talk to the teams there, talk to the teams in the US State Department, their equivalent of the Foreign Office, talk to their trade teams, talk to their ICE units as well, how they have managed to drop by 95% since in the last 4 years illegal crossings of the US southern border. If he manages to do that in the Channel, he'll be very popular. If he just gives us a slogan, he won't.
Yeah, and also now many of them are here, a lot of people in this country would appreciate them not being able to roam freely. Most of them are men, so there's an issue, and in many situations they outnumber the space that they're in. So, for example, Piddington, an asylum centre plan there, 1,200 male migrants planned, a village of just over 300. That can't be right. These people are allowed to roam freely. I'm sorry, but I'd have them detained. Full stop. You wouldn't be allowed to leave.
Well, certainly the UK's immigration detention capacity is not as big as people think it is. You know, we hear a lot about prison places and the issues there, but actually when you come over onto immigration detention, that is pretty full as well. And actually what you need is, certainly at the moment under the law, to detain someone, you need to have a reasonable prospect of their removal. And this is where the issue comes in. And for example, the government doing no returns to countries like Afghanistan is, of course, if you're not returning anyone to a particular country and they're a citizen of that country and you don't have an alternative like Rwanda, then you can't argue that you've got any prospect of removing someone. But whatever the solution for accommodation in the UK, and what doing things like a big accommodation centres like Greece did, like the United States and Australia have done, can make a difference in terms of more quickly accommodating. You can use them to help process people, and actually you could use them as part of your removals work as well, particularly an old airfield with a runway. Unless you've actually got a clear answer of where you're going to send these people, you're stuck with them.
Yeah, well, you see, that is the reason why we tried not to allow them to come here in the first place. How realistic is it that if they arrive here, they are sent straight back to France, like what the Spanish did in Ceuta?
Well, the difference with the Spanish in Ceuta is Morocco cooperated and said yes. Now, there's obviously some questions to be asked about what the Moroccan authorities did or did more rapidly did not do that led up to the storming of the Spanish border in Ceuta. But fundamentally, Morocco accepts immediate return from Ceuta. France does not. France has always said no, and that is the biggest issue. You know, if in the very first boats, going back to 2018, France had immediately accepted return, we wouldn't be talking about this issue now, but that's not a position the current French president has. And I'm aware of what Reform has said over the last week. I'm afraid that just isn't practical. The idea you're going to land people into a country that's refusing to accept them, that just isn't going to happen realistically.
Okay, well, what would France do then? So let's just imagine that Reform are in. They are going to send it back, send the boat back because France don't want to be cooperative. I mean, it's in France's best interest to cooperate anyway, because then it would stop all these people hanging around at these camps thinking that they're going to get into the UK. That is a start. It'd be good for France, actually. But if we sent them back, just say without the French agreement, what happens then? What will they do?
Okay. Well, first, I would agree with you, Nana. It would actually make a lot of sense for France to work with the UK in resolving this issue. There's a lot of people in the northwest of France who are absolutely fed up with the problems this means for residents in the Pas-de-Calais, particularly the lawlessness. But if we did send boats unauthorised into French waters, the likelihood is, they're not going to shoot at them or anything like that. But what they can do is just seize them and potentially the crews as well. I suspect if the crews were acting under orders, they would allow the crews to go, but it wouldn't take long of seizing our boats doing this to end up with not having much of a navy left at all. And actually, the idea of using the Royal Navy itself, and I'm no shrinking violet. I look at what the USA has done, a comprehensive strategy to enforce the border, which President Trump promised when he got elected and has now implemented. That's what we need to be doing. And the US haven't just chucked people back over the Mexican border. What they've done is put a comprehensive package in place where they detain people coming across, they process them quickly, and then remove them back to their home countries or to third countries. The US has done deals with Rwanda and the Central African Republic. So that's, if we want to looking for a solution, you really need to look across the Atlantic.
Well, they're probably using the accommodation that we paid for and provided. It's just so stupid.
They are.
Well, there you go. It's so stupid that the Labour Party decided, oh, no, it's just Rwanda, you can't. And it was literally looking down their noses at the policy, not thinking that actually, if they'd implemented it, they'd be like, well, it's not us, we're just doing it. It's here. It would be a waste of money, so we're going to carry on with it and blame it on the Tories. They could have easily done that. But oh no, they look down their noses at it, and now they are in a very bad situation, and we're all suffering. So we don't have that right now. Andy Burnham is going on a make a feel good tour, and he's not really. I don't believe that they are taking it seriously at all.
No, fine to do this type of tour if you're campaigning for a general election or a party leadership. But as a Prime Minister, I think people would rather hear what your solutions are than see you show up at a football match or pop down their local for a pint. What Andy Burnham needs to show is if he's saying he's going to be relentless on an issue like small boats, what does that actually mean? What are the policies? And in some ways, he gave a clue by reappointing Shabana Mahmood, who, for many Labour MPs is very strong in terms of illegal migration. Yet, if he's going to really crack this issue, it's going to involve things like changes on the ECHR. It's going to involve detaining, processing people quickly, and being prepared to remove people from this country and remove the barriers to do that. Plus, and I do suspect at some point, Labour, they won't call it the Rwanda plan. They'll desperately try and say, oh, no, the Rwanda plan was some sort of Tory idea. This is our Central Africa plan, or this is our, country that just happens to be in the middle of Africa, but that called Rwanda, but it's not the Rwanda plan. At some point, they are going to have to look at a third country option, as Australia and the United States did when dealing with a similar issue. And they're probably only two models of a country similar to us that have managed to deal with this type of challenge and say there's no simple, easy answer. There's no one solution. You need a comprehensive strategy and be determined to drive it forward. Will Andy Burnham be relentless to do that? He might be, but it'll be interesting to see if his backbenchers are. And I suspect if he does go down this path, he'll need to look at both Conservative and Reform MPs to go through the lobby with him to get it through the House of Commons.
Well, I mean, I've got to say, it's just an absolute shocker. I don't know why they... In fact, I think this is the moment where I would say that them scrapping Rwanda is unforgivable, really. And that's, because they've left the British public with nowhere to turn. All right, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you. That's Kevin Foster. He's a former immigration minister. Thank you, Kevin. Well, 11 minutes now after 5 o'clock, and a national police unit set up to monitor social media has referred more than 100 posts to local forces. The team look for online activity linked to potential protests and public disorder. But critics say that the operation is sinister and risks undermining free speech. Well, I'm now joined by former Met police officer and author Graham Wetton. Graham, thank you very much for joining me. Now, look, people wouldn't necessarily object if these people were genuinely looking for changes that would suggest that, say, there's like, for example, what happened in Ceuta. There would be like in Spain, there'd be like a force that would see these sort of things and be ready to tackle them. But this isn't really what they're doing, is it? It sounds like they're policing posts where someone has said something that isn't very nice.
Afternoon, no, that's exactly what they're doing. In the mid-2000s, I ran was a sergeant on the Met's Public Order Intelligence Unit. One of our roles of myself and my staff was to monitor online activity in relation to protest activity. This unit works at the National Police Coordination Centre. One of their roles is to make sure there are sufficient police resources across the country to deal with protests. And many local forces, like the Met, because my unit was disbanded in around 2011, 2012, they have no pre-event intelligence about protest activity. And as we've seen in recent years, online posts in relation to Southport, Epping, Epsom, and most recently Thetford, a lot of protest activity is being organised and coordinated online, and local forces are not picking that intelligence up. And I used to go to briefings, tactical briefings and strategy meetings with that intelligence about planned protests, about the groups that are planning to protest, occasionally their tactics they intended to do, i.e. lock-ons or sit-down protests or whatever. That enabled the police commanders to allocate sufficient resources to deal with that protest, because the public order resources are taken from frontline policing. And what you don't want to do is have like 80 officers turn up and then say like 3 men on a dog or 10 people turn up for a protest. So this is essential information intelligence that police chiefs need to manage these protests effectively.
So is that what they're doing then, specifically targeting these protests and not picking on individuals who say some hurty words?
My understanding, if it's a National Internet Intelligence Investigations Team working under the National Police Coordination Centre, that's exactly the role of the NPCC. It's to look at protests online, and there's been a gap in police intelligence around protest activity, as in we saw there was a slightly slow response to sufficient resources for Southport, similar in Epping, similar in Epsom most recently, and then in Thetford last week. Policing was fairly slow to get enough resources into the area because they were not picking up, it seems, all the online activity about the process. So what time it was taking place, where it was happening, and where they intended going. This team are intended to pick those posts up and identify them to local command teams. So if they need more resources, or on some occasions, if they can reduce the resources they're asking for, it's better for policing and better for the public.
Now, how can we be certain that they won't? So, for example, they'll allow. So let's take the pro-Palestine protests. They went on every single weekend, and I don't understand why they were allowed to go on every single weekend, seeing as Jewish people didn't want to leave their homes, even though some people tried to argue. But there are some Jewish people on the protests. Well, not many, and I suspect most Jewish people wouldn't have gone on. I'm worried that they might almost be politicised. So that protest is okay, because it's sort of, but that protest we won't allow, or that one will follow, but this one, my concern is that, as with the pro-Palestine protests, they will be picking and choosing based on whatever ideology is okay at the time in their view.
Well, it's not about picking and choosing, it's getting information so you can... Policing facilitates peaceful and lawful protest. So that was the intention when I was working on this type of work, looking at online posts about where protests were going to be, who was turning up. It wasn't about picking and choosing which one you're allowed, because we have to facilitate assemblies. It's marches that we can put restrictions on. You can't actually stop an assembly, which is why in the last, I think, 6 months, they had to allow an assembly to take place in London because they couldn't prohibit the They couldn't prohibit it. So they had to allow the assembly to take place, but they could prohibit the actual march taking place. So policing doesn't pick and choose which protests they're allowed to take place. They can put conditions on them. This unit, if it runs very similarly to my old unit, is to identify what protests are taking place. Then you can make an informed decision whether you either let them march from A to B, or you restrict that and restrict them to just a static assembly, which is exactly what the Met did about 6 months ago in London.
But some people would look at that and say, but the operation is actually quite sinister and risks undermining free speech. So people might be frightened to try and use online perfectly legitimately to organise this if it's perhaps a conversation that the police or the government don't really want to have.
It isn't about limiting free speech. It is about identifying where protests are taking place, the likely tactics, the numbers, etc., and what they intend to do. That's exactly where it's been missed, dare I say, on those previous occasions, Epping, Epsom, Southport, etc. That's been identified. Nationally, policing's identified there's a gap in their intelligence in relation to protests and public order policing, and getting sufficient resources to make sure that protests can be facilitated, i.e. take place safely, and the local public, the local members of the community can go about their business as well. So the two can run together. It's having that information so you can effectively resource it. As we've seen on some previous occasions, it hasn't been resourced sufficiently, and there's been disorder, which impacts the local community and puts the public at risk.
So what are they going to do then? So you discover that there's a protest that is happening. It's been organised online, which is perfectly, you're allowed to do that. Yeah. Once they've discovered it, are the heavies going to come down to someone's house who's organising it and tell them you're having this protest and I don't like the words that you've used?
not necessarily the heavies.
Well, they usually turn up in at least 3 or 4 or 5, don't they? It's not just 1 or 2, which would be more realistic if you were policing something and concerned about it. But you've seen people being, door knocked with 5 officers for hurty words online. I think this is what people are very concerned about. What will they do when they discover there's a protest being organised?
This isn't what this unit's intended for, is my understanding, and it's not about the hurty word side of things. And again, that's a separate issue which we can debate another time. But will they go to people's houses? Possibly, just to identify an organiser. It doesn't mean to say they're going to get arrested or taken away. It depends what is written, obviously. If it does commit criminal offences, then they'll have to act on those. But ordinarily, and what we've done previously, we're just policing is trying to identify the location, a possible organiser. So when they do arrive, you've got someone you can liaise with who may be able to keep that demonstration lawful and peaceful, facilitate it working with the police, which is what the intention is. Whenever I worked in protest policing, our intention was always to facilitate that peaceful and lawful protest. We would often work with organisers, having identified who it was, either by online posts, by someone actually putting their name to a post, or when they turned up on the street and were clearly organising something. So it's about facilitating the process if they can, but working with identified organisers so they can have their speech, their freedom of speech, as long as it sits within the law and stays within the law. But again, the local community can go about their business, and we can still keep policing, responding to 999 calls in other areas, because public policing and protest policing is taken from frontline resources. There is not a standalone unit ready to come out for every protest.
OK. All right. Well, I'll take your word for it, Graham. I think some officers, because sometimes people don't know what they're doing in the police. I appreciate it's a difficult job and someone has to do it, and some people do it incredibly well. But I think some people might conflate this with hurty words and get carried away. Graham Weston, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you. He's a former Metropolitan Police officer. Thank you. All right. Well, the National Police Coordination Centre said that the new squad supports policing understanding of protest-related activity in the online environment by developing a broader picture of emerging potential risks. Looking across force boundaries enables the identification of issues that may not be evident from information held within individual force areas alone. That was a bit of a word salad. I have no idea what that meant. Right, 20 minutes after 5 o'clock. If you do, please enlighten me. Time now for the Great British Giveaway. And you are just 2 weeks away from the end of this particular one, with a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and also a gold bar. Here's Hayley Sparks with the details.
Welcome to Orlis Santi by Domes Resorts. I'm in one of their beautiful sea view rooms. Luxurious, right? And there's just 2 weeks left to see how you too could be enjoying the 5-star lifestyle. There's over £65,000 in cash and gold to be won. First, you can bank an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. That's cash you could save, spend the rest of the year spending, or just relax somewhere like here. The award-winning Soma Spa will also give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000. Just make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 21st of August.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Right, 21 minutes after 5 o'clock, you're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We are Britain's #1 news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Next up, it's my interview. Do not go anywhere.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the
Unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, 25 minutes after 5 o'clock. If you just tuned in, where have you been? Yes, it's near the end of the show, but I'll welcome you anyway and remind you that we start at 3. I'm Nana Akua. Well, listen, you join us at the interview. And today, an NHS trust has told transgender staff and patients that they can continue using single-sex facilities based on their gender identity. Now, Midlands Partnership University NHS Foundation Trust says that there will be no immediate change to its policies whilst it awaits further NHS guidance, despite an equality code on single-sex spaces coming into force this week. Well, I'm pleased to say that I'm joined in the studio by journalist Janet Murray, who broke the story. Janet, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I'm just confused as to why these people need further guidance. The Supreme Court ruling has made it very clear that sex should be based on biological sex.
Yeah.
In a hospital setting, that is even more important.
Yeah.
Because a man doesn't have periods, a man cannot give birth. There are many things that a man cannot do, and it's a biological situation. What on earth is going on with these people that seem to think they need further guidance?
Who knows, because this has been going on for a long time, and the particularly extraordinary thing about this story is that a governor, public governor for the trust, has actually been trying to work on them for 18 months since before the Supreme Court ruling to try and get them to update their policies. He's spoken to them about the Darlington nurses, he's spoken to them about Sandy Peggy, he's had meetings, I've seen letters, I've seen emails, and they said, yes, very interesting, you know, we'll look into that, and they've done nothing.
Well, they say that their trans inclusion policy and single-sex accommodation policy remains in force whilst they are reviewed. Now, I don't know what else they need to review. I just don't understand. What is it in there that is... Some of these organisations just will not let go of the notion that sex is based on biology?
Who knows? My personal feeling is possibly that they are afraid. So I've done a lot of these stories about different trusts and also the ambulance trust, and there's often one or two people working in the trust. They're usually the leads of their employee networks. They're often trans-identifying themselves, and they've often had, a big part in writing these policies. And my sense is people are afraid of them, and people are afraid of challenging them. They're afraid of saying to staff, "Look, I know you were allowed to do this before. We got this wrong. Now we have to get it right." And to me, it's fear. But you've also got the fear of and in particular women working in these organisations who are afraid. For that particular story, I spoke to two women who said, "Whatever you do, please do not share my name. I could lose my job for talking to you." And I just hear that over and over again. People, I think, are afraid to have difficult conversations and to say, "Look, we got this wrong. We misinterpreted the guidance, but everything's clear now. We've got this code." So it feels like they're just making excuses. Their latest excuse is they're waiting for NHS England to tell them apparently what they already know.
Now, you've been obviously on this cause for quite a long time. You were dropped by a charity because of your work in this area.
Yeah, so I run a choir in my spare time, just a bit of fun, and we perform at marathons and big races. And in April, a few days before the London Marathon, got told that our services were no longer required, and it was due to my views that men and women can't change sex, which have been publicly stated, which are lawful views. And the other part of it was they also, assigned those views to everybody else in a choir without knowing what their views were. And you just think to yourself, what is going on? Like, what happens in these organisations? Like, doesn't anybody say, hang on a minute, these are lawful views, and also, aren't people entitled to have views? We shouldn't presume what people think about things. And let's just, there's a choir, let's get them come and perform. It's just madness.
But also, it's the truth. I'm sorry, but if people believe that sex can be changed, then show me a human who's changed sex, and I'll consider believing it. But so far, the sex is an immutable characteristic. You cannot change your sex. I'm not afraid to say that and worried that somebody will come and get me for saying that, and no one will be able to convince me otherwise unless I see a human who's actually changed sex, and by that, it's biological sex, and that is the only sex there is. There's not another kind of biology when it comes to sex. You're either male or female, and anything in between, then something has usually gone wrong, or that is often a medical condition. When they talk about intersex, that's a medical condition. You are meant to be one or the other. Something hasn't developed properly. It doesn't mean that you are two sexes.
Yeah, and we often talk about it in terms of beliefs, just because the law talks about it in terms of protected beliefs. But you're absolutely right. This is just fact. And this idea that people are losing jobs, they're having their choirs dropped from singing. There's just been so many examples of people who've cancelled. They've lost their livelihoods, they've lost friends, they've lost family. I speak to people every day who are affected by this just for speaking the truth.
Yeah, and the story you wrote in the Telegraph, tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so basically they wrote to their staff on Wednesday. Can you imagine working for that trust? And the new code has come into force on Wednesday. There's been a lot of publicity about it, which is basically saying, you need to follow the law, and well, we already knew that, but here's how to apply it. And for them, that was, should have been about making changes, particularly for patients, because the workplace regulations already should cover staff. So you can imagine you're working there, you get this email, and particularly if you're a woman, and it actually says in the email, we appreciate this might be distressing for our trans and non-binary staff. And the women who contacted me about it were like, who cares about the women? Nobody seems to care about the women. They actually signposted them, or if you need support, we'll signpost you to our LGBT plus person or whatever. But there's no signposting for support for women who might be distressed about the fact that they might have to share a changing room or a shower or a toilet with a man. It's like they don't even think, they just presume that everybody agrees with them. It's mad.
Yeah, and it is a bit silly as well, because a man cannot become a woman and a woman cannot become a man. Even if you have a cosmetic so-called change, or most trans people don't actually have any surgery in that respect anyway. But look, people are free to do what they want, but you can lie to yourself that you're a woman, but you can't force everyone to entertain the lie with you, you know. And the reality is that in law, biology trumps ideology, and for some reason or other, this NHS Trust don't want to follow it.
Yeah, and I think the other sinister part of it is what you're asking people to do, your staff to do, is to affirm something that they know is not true.
Yeah.
To say that that man standing in front of them, who they know is a man, is a woman. And for me, it just feels like if you can convince people to say that man standing in front of them is actually a woman, what else could people convince you of? And I think it's wider than the women's rights issue, but it's just so important that we keep fighting it, and we keep getting these stories on the agenda, because people are, they're suffering, they're losing livelihoods and jobs, friends, families. It's just awful.
Well, also, they're confusing our kids, really, frankly. But thankfully, I've made it very clear to my son that a man cannot become a woman and a woman could not become a man, and I will continue to say that until somebody brings me a man that has actually become a woman, and by that I mean being able to give birth, an actual man, by the way, not a trans man, be able to give birth, having periods and everything else that a woman goes through, and then maybe I'll be convinced, but until that point, no.
Yeah, you might be waiting a long time.
I don't think I'll be alive by then. I'll be dead and buried by then. But listen, I've got to say thank you very much, Janet Murray, and well done for all the work you're doing. Thank you so much. All right, that is Janet Murray. She broke the story earlier with regard to this whole trans situation. But just let's read you a statement. A Midlands Partnership University NHS Foundation Trust spokesperson said the Trust accepts the Supreme Court judgment and is implementing the EHRC Code of Practice through a structured implementation programme. A small number of policies are under formal review, informed by external legal advice and any relevant NHS England guidance as it becomes available. As a mental health and community provider, we must also balance our wider legal duties to protect safety, privacy, dignity, safeguarding and human rights, including for vulnerable patients. All right, 34 minutes after 5 o'clock. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. Still to come in the Great British Debate. I'm asking, would David Lammy make a better mayor than Sir Sadiq Khan?
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry theme is set to continue for most of us as we go into the new working week, and there will be some strong spells of sunshine through the day on Monday. We have had a little bit of rain on Sunday, courtesy of a cold front that's clearing away to the east now. High pressure takes over for much of the coming week and temperatures will build, so turning hot for some by Tuesday and indeed Wednesday and Thursday. Out there this evening, some showery rain across parts of northern England. That's courtesy of that weak cold front, so a few dribs and drabs of rain perhaps across parts of North Wales and the Midlands through the early hours of Monday morning. Otherwise, though, many places will stay dry. It will turn quite chilly across more northern parts of the UK, temperatures in the countryside dipping into single figures. But in the south, lows of between 15 and 16 degrees in the towns and the cities, so a fairly warm night to come. As well as that, there may well be one or two mist and fog patches forming later in the night, particularly across southwest England, but those won't take very long to clear at all in that strong August sunshine. So a fine day to come for most of England and Wales, a bit of cloud around at times, but many places having plenty amounts of sunshine as well. One or two isolated showers for Northern Ireland and the west of Scotland, though most places dry. Fairly frequent showers, though, pushing into Shetland and Orkney, and here those showers will be accompanied by quite a brisk northwesterly wind, so here it will feel disappointingly cool once again for August, but otherwise with light winds and, as I say, a good deal amounts of sunshine. I am expecting temperatures to rise quite quickly, so it will be feeling warm by the afternoon, temperatures in the low to mid-20s for many, and perhaps 26 or 27 in the far south, but not as hot in the south as on Sunday. So a fine picture to begin the new working week for many, and it stays that way as we go into Tuesday too. Possibly just a little bit of patchy light rain and drizzle pushing into western Scotland for a time on Tuesday, but otherwise a lot of sunshine through the middle part of the week and indeed into Thursday too. Blue skies, cloudless conditions for many, and turning very hot in parts of England and Wales by Wednesday and Thursday, temperatures into the mid-30s.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to GB News, Britain's #1 news channel. I'm Nana Akua. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio, 37 minutes after 5 o'clock. And it's time now for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, would David Lammy make a better mayor than Sir Sadiq Khan? Now, former Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy is reportedly eyeing a run to become the next mayor of London. Sources claim that he could enter the race. I hope he does. If Sir Sadiq Khan decides not to seek a fourth term in 2028. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, would David Lammy make a better mayor than Sir Sadiq Khan? I wonder if you've got a list of David Lammy's achievements. Oh, no, there isn't a list. Oh, there aren't any. All right. Maybe he has got some. I'm joking. All right, joining me now is GB News senior political correspondent Nigel Nelson and former political advisor Claire Pearsall. I'll start with you, Nigel Nelson. So, David Lammy for London Mayor.
Well, I think that Sadiq Khan has actually been a very good mayor.
Really?
Yes.
What has he done that's good?
Oh, well, knife crime is down by 7%. Murders are at the lowest level in London.
From a very high bar.
He's done some great stuff on transport. So we've got the Elizabeth line, we've got nighttime tubes, we've got outer London bus connections, which we didn't have before. He's given primary schools free school meals. So there's an awful lot he's done in his term.
That came from a large and wide
When it comes to David Lammy might be quite good. I mean, he's been MP for Tottenham, which is not the easiest part of London for the last 26 years. I've been to Tottenham with David Lammy.
Is it a great place?
Well, he's done an awful lot with it. So, for instance...
Like what? Go on.
Well, there's a lot of racial tension there. There's been riots there, as we know. Things like boxing clubs to take kids off the streets who might be violent and channeling that into boxing clubs that have been set up in the constituency. So he has done a number of good things. I don't think by the way, he will run if Sadiq Khan decides to do a fourth term. It all depends on whether Sadiq goes for another 4 years.
Well, I mean, wow. All right, go on. Claire Pearsall.
Wow. I mean, Sadiq Khan, what can we say about him? I wouldn't be sad to see him go, that's for sure.
You and Donald Trump.
Well, this is where Donald Trump and I agree. But to replace him with David Lammy, I'm not convinced that that's going to be any better. He'd probably hand over taxpayers' money to pay reparations for things that we don't need to pay, so that would be more money coming out of the economy. Sadiq Khan already extended the ULEZ zone, the ultra-low emissions zone, into the Kent countryside.
Cleaner air as a result.
No.
I know it's unpopular, but cleaner air as a result.
No, it's absolute nonsense because vehicles have become much more cleaner with their emissions. It's nothing to do with that. But what he's done is extend out of his own area into places like Kent, and those taxpayers are being hit for his vanity projects. And I don't think David Lammy would do a better job in the slightest. I mean, Calamity Lammy going out onto the world stage as London Mayor, I'm not sure that would buy us.
But then you'd like a Conservative as Mayor, obviously.
Of course I would.
Yeah.
I mean, understandably so. If we pick a very good candidate... Well, I'm not saying that he wouldn't be a good candidate should he put himself forward. We don't know if he is.
I mean, you've got Reform UK's Leila Cunningham, that she's running for London Mayor. I think she would be quite a big challenge for any of those. David Lammy, I think should win hands down, really.
In the event that there was an election tomorrow, I don't think Leila would win it based on what happened in Manchester. You've got the supplementary vote in London, and we can
What's that got to do with it, though?
Well, what it had to do with it, in Manchester, that Labour didn't win the 50% outright, but they did win on the supplementary vote. I think Leila's working very hard to be mayor. I know that. But I think that London and Manchester are not that dissimilar. And as I say, if it was tomorrow...
They're completely different.
I don't think that she would win. So we are talking 2028. Things may change by that time.
I don't know. I think London is in such a state, and it can only be... You have to look at Sir Sadiq Khan. He's been the mayor for a very long time. He's had 3 terms. In that time, things haven't got better for London. Well, it's got worse, and it's become... Well,
this is arguable.
You say that knife crime has gone down, but not really. I don't think so.
Really?
No, it hasn't gone down. No, I don't think so. There are more people. There's more crimes in London. There's more watch robberies. There's more everything, actually. Phone snatching,
There's more phone snatching, you're right.
Let's talk about phone snatching, shoplifting.
Shoplifting, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so there you go. So
but when it comes to violent crime, there has been a drop in violent crime.
Probably very marginally, but I'm going to check the figures just to see, because I don't really think I don't think you can get that one, really.
And talking about things like free breakfast clubs, well, they're never going to be free, are they? Because it's the taxpayer that picks up the tab for things like that. I mean, David Lammy may be a success in his own constituency, but to replicate that across London, which is a large and diverse city, and it takes in many areas which are very different to Tottenham, I think he would have a real battle. What he needs to be is personable, and that's what we don't see from David Lammy, is that he's very good in his own area. Take him out of that into some of the outer London suburbs, probably not
but
quite
that applies to any MP who's standing for the role.
Well, it does, but we're talking about David Lammy. So
yeah, OK,
that's
but we mentioned James Cleverly. I mean, you could argue the same thing there. At the moment, I rather hope that Sadiq Khan goes for a 4th term.
Oh, God.
I think that would be good for London.
But you say about the 24-hour tube system, well, that's all very well and good, but you've got no bars, clubs, restaurants or anything open for people to go to. So, yes, for those people that work shifts, fantastic. What about the nighttime economy? That has absolutely plummeted under Sadiq Khan.
Yeah, it's been a complete disaster. And there's no way... I mean, I don't know anyone who voted for him. Did you vote? You don't live in London.
We don't live in London, so I didn't have a vote last time.
Would you have voted for him?
I would, yes.
God.
Would have been cancelled out by my vote, that's for sure, so don't worry about that.
I mean, anyway, well, listen, who knows? I mean, he's now Sadiq, he's also going to be in the Lords now, so he's not done badly for himself. But and what do you think? Do you think David Lammy, a lot of people laughing at Calamity Lammy, I'm amazed that he's survived and still in government, frankly, but what do you think? gbnews.com/your say. I mean, wasn't he the arbiter for the old jewellery trials? Everything he's pretty much put forward is being reversed. But stay tuned. Loads more still to come, but let's first check out the holiday sun in Europe.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. If you're heading off on holiday to other parts of Europe, it's a sunny and increasingly hot outlook across many parts of the Mediterranean. There may well be an isolated afternoon or evening thunderstorm, particularly across inland parts of Turkey, Greece and the Balkans, but many parts of Italy and the Western Mediterranean will stay entirely dry on Monday with plenty of strong August sunshine. Into the outlook the rest of the week, well, the temperatures remain in the mid to high 30s, perhaps even above 40 Celsius in places.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
4 heat waves, weeks without meaningful rain. As the UK heads towards one of its hottest summers on record, the pressure is showing here in Sussex, in the fruit growing across these fields.
Well, the impact of the heat is already visible here. This local grower says that if these extreme temperatures continue, this year's harvest may well be smaller in size.
I don't think there's been another period like this in the history. 3 years ago, we had a tremendous heat wave in the middle of harvest. We were unable to get the fruit to cool down quickly enough. The following year we had a very, very light crop, and the same again this year.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's only all-female chess team, called She Plays to Win, has been promoted to the game's top division, only to be told they must recruit a male player to compete. Now, league rules require every First Division team to include at least one male and one female player, meaning that one of the team's female players could lose her place. I'm joined in the studio by the She Plays to Win chess players, Anusha and Alicia. Great to see you both this afternoon.
Thank you.
So sorry about what's going on. You've been promoted, but you might have to lose one of your teammates. What's going on here?
So essentially, we have fallen victim to this rule that She Plays to Win, our team, has been promoted to the First Division in our league, but now must have a male player as part of the rules.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, that drought is due to long periods, record periods actually, with no rainfall and high temperatures. The areas that are affected, as you say, over half of England, half of the UK affected by that. The areas being East Anglia, Hertfordshire, the whole of London, Thames Valley, Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, Devon and Cornwall, the West Midlands and Wessex, covering Dorset, Somerset, Wiltshire and Gloucestershire. So a huge area impacted by that drought. There is also that amber heat health alert still in place here. That's in place until tomorrow. And temperatures today in the south could reach up to 35 degrees. So people here in Bognor Regis coming to the coast to cool down.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome back to GB News, 48 minutes after 5 o'clock. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua. We are live on TV, online and on digital radio. Now, at 7 on GB News this evening, it is Free Speech Nation with Josh Howie. He joins me now. Josh, what is coming up on tonight's show?
Well, we've got a GB News exclusive. The female detective who was fired. She captured rapists, she captured paedophiles, and then she said a joke about trans women and told a few other home truths. She was fired. We have her here in the studio. We also have a debate with the rabbi who thinks that you should forgive the former neo-Nazi who then wanted to be a Tory councillor. And you ever wonder why the statements from victims' families, they sound eerily familiar? Well, we've got a deep dive into the Nudge unit. It is sinister stuff. We have a packed show. We'll see you at 7 o'clock.
All right, we'll look forward to that. Thank you very much, Josh. Free Speech Nation, don't miss it. Right now, though, it is time for Supplement Sunday, the part of the show where I have other stories from my panel. So joining me now, senior GB News political correspondent Nigel Nelson and former political advisor Claire Pearsall. All right, who wants to go first? Who's got the most fun supplement?
Well, I don't know if it's fun or not, but it's an inspirational story and from the Sunday Mirror today. But it's Natalie Lambert from Cowes, who was able to sail the Atlantic, steering the boat, a 46-foot catamaran, with her mouth. Tasha's got cerebral palsy, can't use her arms and legs, and her father, who's an electrician, invented for her a device that she can, which is called a sip and puff device. Oh. If she sips the boat goes right. If she puffs, the boat goes left. She's able to sail the Atlantic, and she's now going to tackle the Pacific next.
Wow. And she's presumably not alone.
No, with her family. Her family went with her, but she never wanted to be a passenger on the boat. So the family got round to invented this device so she could actually take the helm of the boat, started off on model boats to learn how to use it, and gradually developed up until she could sail 3,000 miles.
Did they say how old she is?
She's now 29, and she was doing this in her mid-20s.
Oh, that's lovely. That's nice, Nigel. All right, Claire, what's your story?
This is the rise of the mean girls within Parliament.
Oh,
so
right.
we've had heavily dominated governments for some time, but the top tier of the Labour government includes Louise Hay, Lucy Powell, Angela Rayner and Antonia Romeo, and they're being dubbed the mean girls to try and combat this very blokish image of politics, and they're the ones that hold the power. And I think, fair play. Women have some really good ideas. They're quite often put put in the background and not paid enough attention to. And I really think that they should install the wearing pink on Wednesdays rule, because that would jazz up Parliament no end.
Ah, that's nice. Well, listen, lots of you have been in touch with your thoughts and your views. Michael says, well, they say opposites attract. Claire is a smart lady who can understand the nuances of life, whereas Nigel is the complete opposite. I love that. Very good, very good. And yeah, so lots of messages coming through. I can't read them all. But Howard says, do you really, Claire, do you really live with him? I do. They're all asking. But no, bless them both. They're very good, aren't they? Great pair. All right, well, listen, loads more still to come here on GB News. Now, throughout the show, I've been asking, is Andy Burnham's honeymoon already over? And let's have a look at what you've been saying. Let's take a look at those poll results. What do you reckon? 96% of you say yes, 4% of you say no. So there's a little smidgen of people who believe that his honeymoon's not over yet.
Yes, I mean, I don't think there's very many Andy Burnham supporters there somehow.
Maybe there, but
I wonder why. I mean, 96% of correct people have decreed that it's over, and they're right. They are right. I think it's.
Well, I think it's over, but then so is the show. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. A big thank you to my panel, GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Nigel, thank you very much. And former political advisor Claire Pearsall for joining me today. And as ever, a huge thank you to you at home for your company. I look forward to seeing you same time, same place at 3 o'clock, Saturday, Sunday. Be there or be square. I'll leave you with the weather. Enjoy.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. The dry theme is set to continue for most of us as we go into the new working week, and there will be some strong spells of sunshine through the day on Monday. We have had a little bit of rain on Sunday, courtesy of a cold front that's clearing away to the east now. High pressure takes over for much of the coming week and temperatures will build, so turning hot for some by Tuesday and indeed Wednesday and Thursday. Out there this evening, some showery rain across parts of northern England. That's courtesy of that weak cold front, so a few dribs and drabs of rain perhaps across parts of North Wales and the Midlands through the early hours of Monday morning. Otherwise, though, many places will stay dry. It will turn quite chilly across more northern parts of the UK, temperatures in the countryside dipping into single figures. But in the south, lows of between 15 and 16 degrees in the towns and the cities, so a fairly warm night to come. As well as that, there may well be one or two mist and fog patches forming later in the night, particularly across southwest England, but those won't take very long to clear at all in that strong August sunshine. So a fine day to come for most of England and Wales, a bit of cloud around at times, but many places having plenty amounts of sunshine as well. One or two isolated showers for Northern Ireland and the west of Scotland, though most places dry. Fairly frequent showers, though, pushing into Shetland and Orkney, and here those showers will be accompanied by quite a brisk northwesterly wind, so here it will feel disappointingly cool once again for August, but otherwise with light winds and, as I say, a good deal amounts of sunshine. I am expecting temperatures to rise quite quickly, so it will be feeling warm by the afternoon, temperatures in the low to mid-20s for many, and perhaps 26 or 27 in the far south, but not as hot in the south as on Sunday. So a fine picture to begin the new working week for many, and it stays that way as we go into Tuesday too. Possibly just a little bit of patchy light rain and drizzle pushing into western Scotland for a time on Tuesday, but otherwise a lot of sunshine through the middle part of the week and indeed into Thursday too. Blue skies, cloudless conditions for many, and turning very hot in parts of England and Wales by Wednesday and Thursday, temperatures into the mid-30s.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome to Orlis Santi by Domes Resorts, and there's just 2 weeks left to see how you too could be enjoying the 5-star lifestyle. First, you can bank an incredible £60,000. We'll also give you a fine gold bullion bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
I think GB News is completely unique in the way that we interact with our viewers.
Our audience aren't afraid to have their say. They want their voices heard now, and they've got a channel where that can happen.
I find more and more as I'm wandering around, people come up to me and they say, "We saw you on television." I say, "Oh yes, on what?" "On GB News." "Hello, are you the famous Sue?"
The whole crew hit me here now. We came to celebrate.
It's our job to be the eyes and ears of the viewers.
They are part of the GB News family, and I'm pleased to say it's a very large family.
And if people go to the time and trouble of listening and watching, then we've got to do a good job for them.
Well, I'm here right in this episode.